Before we begin, get ready to discover some of the rarest and most extraordinary people ever documented. From uncommon genetic conditions to incredible physical features, every person in this video is completely real. So sit back, relax, and let's begin our journey through the top 100 rare people you won't believe actually exist. Are you new in this video? Click subscribe and hit notification bell. So let's get started. For decades, villagers in Jabalpur have known him as the Bendy Priest, a man whose body appears unusually small and whose bones curve in ways that baffled local doctors. His name is Bharat Tiwari, and the world first noticed his story after a filmed interview and regional news coverage in 2018. Bharat says his condition began after a wall fell on him when he was about 5 years old. Since then, his growth stopped and his body became markedly shorter. Reports describe him as around 2 feet tall with pronounced bone deformities. In interviews, he explains that he does not see his body as a curse. Many locals revere him, treating him with respect and sometimes believing he is spiritually gifted. Medical observers quoted in the coverage told reporters they find his case mysterious and that, because there are no public medical records published, doctors can only say the problem appears to be skeletal in origin, and that advanced treatment, especially after decades, may be limited. The local doctor who has followed him suggests management to prevent deterioration rather than a clear cure. What we can report with confidence is this: Bharat's life shows how rare, undiagnosed conditions can be lived with dignity in close-knit communities. His interviews and the short documentary pieces give viewers direct testimony, the man himself, his family, and neighbors. But they do not replace formal medical study. For anyone curious, the strongest primary sources are the filmed interviews and the contemporary news features. In the early 1900s, a man named Pascual Piñón shocked audiences across the United States. He was promoted as the Two-Headed Man and became a featured attraction in traveling sideshows. According to historical accounts, Piñón was said to have a parasitic twin, a second head attached to his own. Crowds gathered to witness what was described as a rare medical phenomenon. However, modern historians believe the second head was likely a wax or papier-mâché prosthetic created by his promoter. Some reports suggest Piñón may have had a small tumor or growth on his head, which was then exaggerated to create the illusion of a fully formed second head. There are no verified medical records proving he had a true parasitic twin. Today, most researchers classify his case as a sideshow fabrication rather than a confirmed medical mystery. Pascual Piñón remains a fascinating example of how entertainment and exaggeration shaped early 20th century freak show history. Patrick Duell was an American man who became known worldwide as one of the heaviest people ever medically recorded. He was born on March 28, 1962, in Grand Island, Nebraska. For much of his adult life, Patrick struggled with extreme obesity. At his heaviest, he weighed around 486 kilograms, or roughly 1,072 pounds, and was unable to leave his home for about 5 years due to his size and mobility issues. His story drew international attention through the documentary Half-Ton Man, part of the British medical series Body Shock. The film followed Patrick's daily life and the challenges he faced because of his condition. In a dramatic moment from the documentary, paramedics had to remove a wall in his home so he could be transported to a hospital in a specially equipped ambulance. Medical professionals stressed that his extreme weight put him at high risk for serious health issues, including heart disease, diabetes, respiratory problems, and organ failure. All complications commonly associated with severe obesity. Doctors recommended that Patrick undergo gastric bypass surgery as his best chance to improve his health. With professional medical care and strict lifestyle changes, Patrick began a long and difficult journey toward losing weight. Reports after his hospitalization reveal that he lost hundreds of pounds. a remarkable turnaround given the severity of his condition. Beyond just numbers, Patrick Duell's story highlights the complex emotional and physical struggles many people face with morbid obesity. His journey became a powerful and well-documented case study in both medical circles and public awareness. Patrick passed away on April 29, 2016, at the age of 54. While his life was marked by extreme challenges, his story continues to contribute to public understanding about the realities of severe obesity and the importance of compassionate medical care. Kishan Valaya Ayula is an Indian performer who once amazed the world by pushing the limits of human ability through a truly dangerous art: sword swallowing. Born in India's Telangana region, he trained for many years to master this skill, a practice that dates back thousands of years and requires precise control, focus, and courage. Sword swallowing isn't swallowing in the normal sense. Performers must relax reflexes and guide solid steel blades down the throat without harming vital organs. On February 13, 2011, Kishan made history on the set of AB India Todega in Mumbai by swallowing 22 swords simultaneously, a feat tested and recorded by Guinness World Records. The swords were checked for sharpness, and each blade was carefully guided down his throat, a feat only accomplished by a tiny number of professionals worldwide. This wasn't just about strength, it was about discipline. Sword swallowing carries real risks, from throat and esophagus damage to internal injury. And performers must train for years to build the muscle control and tolerance needed to pull off such acts safely. Though later records show other performers exceeding 22 blades, Kishan's achievement remains significant. He held one of the highest numbers of swords swallowed at once and brought international attention to the physical limits of human performance. What Kishan did wasn't magic. It was mastery of one of the world's most dangerous performance arts. His story reminds us that human capabilities can stretch far beyond what most of us ever attempt. Trini Amahirwe, sometimes spelled Trini in reports, is one of those young girls whose story touched people all over the world. She was born in Kampala, Uganda, and according to reports, she developed a rare condition called fibrous dysplasia, where abnormal tissue slowly replaces healthy bone. Over time, this caused a large growth on the left side of her face, and it kept getting worse as she grew older. What makes her case so heartbreaking is how much the growth affected everyday life. Reports say it began when she was around 1 year old, and by the time she was older, the mass had become so serious that it distorted her cheek, jaw, and eyes. It also made eating very difficult, and doctors were worried that the growth could eventually cause even more serious complications. Trini had already gone through 2 surgeries in Uganda, but the problem kept coming back. That is when her case reached the attention of people who wanted to help. A charity called Facing the World stepped in, and she and her mother were flown to London for treatment. Reports say the surgery took around 15 hours, and it was carried out by a team of specialists at Cromwell Hospital. The goal of the operation was not just to remove the growth, but to give Trini a better chance at living a normal childhood again. Her story became a powerful example of how rare medical conditions can change a child's life, but also how skill, compassion, and support can create hope in a very difficult situation. Trini Amahirwe's journey is more than just a rare medical case. It is a reminder that behind every unusual appearance is a real person, a real family, and a real struggle. And sometimes, the most inspiring stories are the ones that begin with pain, but end with hope. When people talk about extraordinary human stories, Hussein Bisad is one name that quickly stands out. Born in Somalia, Bisad later moved to the United Kingdom after fleeing conflict, and in the early 2000s, he attracted worldwide attention because of his massive height. At the time, Guinness measured him at 7 feet 6.5 inches, or about 2.3 meters, making him one of the tallest men in the world, and media reports also noted that he had the largest hands of any living person then. But Hussein's story was never just about height. Reports say doctors believed he had acromegaly, a condition linked to too much growth hormone, which can cause abnormal growth in the body. That helped explain not only his height, but also the unusual size of his hands and the many health challenges that came with being so large. Life was not easy for him. Over the years, Hussein faced serious health problems and at one point lived in a care home in Wembley. He spoke about the difficulty of daily life, including needing specially made clothing and shoes, and the emotional toll of living with a rare condition in a world built for average-sized people. During the pandemic, he also experienced the loneliness and loss that many vulnerable people faced in care settings. In more recent coverage, Hussein Besad has spoken out about compassion, dignity, and the need for better support for vulnerable people. His story is powerful because it shows that behind the extreme height and world record attention is a real human being with struggles, resilience, and a voice that deserves to be heard. Hussein Besad's journey reminds us that rare conditions can change a life completely, but they do not erase a person's strength.
Most people can hold their breath for 30 seconds. Some can push it to a minute. But Budimir Sobat, a man from Croatia, shattered all expectations by holding his breath for an astonishing 24 minutes and 37.36 seconds. That's not a typo. 24 minutes. Longer than most YouTube videos. Budimir, also known as Buddha, set the Guinness World Record in 2021, making him officially the man with the longest breath hold ever recorded underwater. But how did he do it? This real-life Aquaman spent years training using static apnea, a free diving technique where the body is trained to lower oxygen use and stay calm under pressure. He combines extreme physical conditioning with yogic breath control, slowing his heart rate down to near sleep levels while submerged. What's even more impressive is his reason behind it. Budimir didn't just do it for fame. He dedicated the record to raising awareness for children with autism, including his own daughter. His feat became a symbol of pushing limits not for ego but for purpose. Budimir Sobat is more than just a human stopwatch. He's living proof that the body can go beyond its limits, and that real-life superpowers don't always come from muscles. Sometimes they come from the lungs.
Manitou Bol was one of the most unforgettable figures ever to come out of Africa. Born in what is now South Sudan, he grew into a 7'7" giant and became one of the tallest players in NBA history, tied with Gheorghe Muresan. When he entered the league with the Washington Bullets in 1985, people immediately noticed that he was not just tall, he was built to change the game on defense. In his rookie season, Bol led the NBA in blocks with a career-high 5.0 blocks per game, and he set the NBA rookie record with 397 blocked shots. That same season, he became known as one of the most intimidating defensive presences in the league, despite being a player whose impact came more from defense than scoring. Over his NBA career, he became famous for shot blocking, timing, and the way he could completely alter the rhythm of a game just by standing near the rim. But Manitou Bol's story was never only about basketball. After reaching the NBA, he used his platform to speak about human rights and to support people affected by the conflict in Sudan. AP and FIBA both note that he became known as a humanitarian as well as an athlete, and he helped inspire the next generation of South Sudanese players. In fact, his influence reached far beyond the court and became part of the basketball identity of South Sudan itself. Manitou Bol died in 2010 at the age of 47, but his legacy still stands tall. He will always be remembered not only as one of the tallest men to ever play in the NBA, but also as a symbol of resilience, generosity, and uncommon greatness.
Nestled in the lower Omo Valley of southwestern Ethiopia, the Mursi, who call themselves Mun, are a Surmic ethnic group numbering just over 11,000 people as of 2007. Their lives weave together pastoral traditions, vivid body art, and rich oral history. They cherish a leisurely lifestyle filled with music, storytelling, social chatter, and expressive body painting that serves both symbolic and practical purposes, like deterring insects or offering sun protection. One of their most striking customs is ceremonial dueling known as Donga, a stylized form of combat using large wooden sticks. It's more than a contest of strength. It's a rite of passage, a display of courage and manhood often observed by potential brides. However, what truly garners global attention are the lip plates worn by Mercy women. Starting around ages 15-16, a girl's lower lip is pierced and gradually stretched over months. A wooden or clay plug initially replaces the healed incision, later exchanged for a crafted plate, typically ranging from 8 centimeters to over 20 centimeters in diameter. These plates are not merely decorative, they symbolize beauty, fertility, and identity. And although earlier anthropologists linked their size to the bride price, scholars now argue the significance lies in female pride and cultural expression. This tradition has also become a livelihood. Mercy villages, particularly those near Mago National Park, often charge tourists to photograph them, creating a complex dynamic between cultural preservation and external fascination. Yet, underneath the tourist gaze, many who spend time with the Mercy report that they are inquisitive, resilient, and far more welcoming than sensational headlines suggest.
This specimen demonstrates a rare congenital anomaly called otocephaly, also known as the Agnathia otocephaly complex. Key features include melotia, where the ears are positioned abnormally low on the face, and microstomia, a very small mouth opening. These malformations arise from disrupted neural crest cell migration during early development. Otocephaly is extremely rare and often incompatible with life, but it provides important insight into craniofacial embryology. This video is intended purely for medical education and awareness. What can you say about this? Share your thoughts in the comments below.
Prahlad Jani, also known as Mataji, was an Indian mystic who captivated the world with his extraordinary claim to have lived for over 70 years without any food or water. He stated that a blessing from a Hindu goddess at the age of 11 allowed him to sustain himself without nourishment or even needing to use the bathroom. This remarkable assertion drew widespread attention and considerable skepticism. However, his claims led to scientific investigation. In both 2003 and 2010, Prahlad Jani was placed under strict surveillance by Indian doctors in hospital settings for periods of up to 15 days. During these observations, he was continuously monitored and reportedly showed no signs of dehydration, significant weight loss, or organ failure, baffling the medical community. While the scientific community largely remained skeptical, unable to explain the phenomenon through known biological laws, Prahlad Jani's case challenged conventional understanding of human capabilities. He passed away in 2020 at the age of 90, leaving behind a legacy as a symbol of the unexplained and a unique medical mystery.
Mounir Fourar was one of Algeria's most remarkable human stories. Born in Batna, Algeria, he became known as one of the tallest men in the world, with reports describing him at around 2.44 meters, or about 8 feet tall. An AFP Getty image from 2002 also described him as an Algerian giant measuring 2 meters 44 centimeters. But Mounir's story was never just about height. Reports say his unusual growth began when he was around 12 years old, after developing acromegaly gigantism, a condition linked to abnormal hormone growth. According to coverage on Africa's Tallest Men, he underwent 5 operations at a hospital in Algiers in an effort to stop the growth. For people who saw him, Mounir Fourar was unforgettable. He stood out not only because of his massive frame, but because his size made him one of the most talked about tall figures in Africa. Reports also described him as Algeria's tallest man, even after his death in January 2012. His case is a powerful reminder that extreme height is not always a blessing. Behind the attention and curiosity was a real person living with a serious medical condition that changed his entire life. Mounir Fourar's story remains one of the most striking examples of how rare body conditions can make someone famous around the world.
The man who carried his heart in a pack. At 16, while playing basketball, Stan Larkin collapsed and was diagnosed with arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia, ARVD, a serious genetic heart condition affecting both ventricles. Over the years, his heart weakened significantly, requiring more support than a defibrillator could provide. He became eligible for a heart transplant, but the wait for a matching donor meant he was at risk of passing away. In November 2014, doctors at the University of Michigan removed Larkin's failing heart and implemented a SynCardia total artificial heart. 2 tubes exited his chest and connected to a Freedom portable driver, a lightweight 13.5-pound pneumatic device that powered the artificial heart. Unlike earlier models requiring hospitalization, this portable driver gave Larkin mobility. He carried it 24/7 in a backpack, allowing him to go home, spend time with his children, and even play basketball again. He became the first patient in the Midwest to be discharged with this advanced device and lived 555 days this way, making history in cardiac care. In May 2016, Stan received a donor heart. His emotional, triumphant recovery was covered widely. He looked forward to simple joys like showering, holding his children, and ditching the backpack forever. Imagine suffering a severe brain injury and waking up with a superhuman gift. That's exactly what happened to Alonzo Clemens, a man from Boulder, Colorado, who is considered one of the world's greatest savant sculptors. As a child, Alonzo suffered a traumatic brain injury that left him with significant developmental disabilities. He struggled with reading, writing, and everyday tasks. But hidden within that tragedy was a miracle. Alonzo had gained an extraordinary ability to sculpt lifelike animals from memory, using just his hands and clay. He can glance at a horse for a few seconds, and within minutes, sculpt it with stunning anatomical accuracy, capturing every muscle, pose, and detail. No photos, no models, just pure visual memory. What makes this even more astonishing is that Alonzo has an estimated IQ of only 40 to 50, yet his sculptures are world-class, selling for thousands of dollars and displayed in galleries across the U.S. Despite his challenges, Alonzo never gave up. He continued sculpting every single day, sometimes using butter, crayons, or even rocks when he didn't have clay. His determination proves that talent can come from the most unexpected places. Today, Alonzo is a celebrated artist and living proof that even in the face of disability, the human mind can unlock incredible, almost superhuman potential. He is not just an artist, he is a miracle of nature.
Mark Davidson. Chicildo was born in the Philippines with macrodactyly, an extremely rare medical condition that caused his hands to grow far beyond normal size, eventually reaching nearly 10 times larger than average. From a young age, his physical difference made him stand out, often drawing stares, whispers, and painful nicknames that followed him through his early life. Growing up was never easy. Society often focused on what made him different, not who he truly was. But instead of allowing judgment to define him, Mark made a powerful choice to adapt, to endure, and to move forward with courage. He learned how to use his hands in daily life, turning what many saw as a limitation into a tool for independence, responsibility, and care. Today, Mark is more than his condition. He is a husband, a father, and a digital creator based in Manila, openly sharing his journey to raise awareness and inspire others. Through his story, he reminds the world that the greatest challenges are not always physical, but social. Mark Davidson. Chicildo's life stands as a testament to resilience, proving that true strength is not measured by appearance, but by the heart, determination, and purpose behind it. This is the story of Aliazia Caldwell, a young man from Louisville living with a very rare medical condition called cystic hygroma. From the moment he was born, fluid-filled cysts formed on his face, a condition so unusual that many doctors had never seen its like. Cystic hygroma is a type of lymphatic malformation. It causes large, fluid-filled masses to grow in soft tissues, and in Aliazia's case, it affected critical areas of his face, breathing, and vision. In fact, when Aliazia entered the world, the swelling was so severe that doctors had to resuscitate him and perform emergency procedures just to keep his airway open. Over the years, he has faced multiple hospital visits, medical pain, and surgical challenges, including using a breathing tube because of airway blockage. But Aliazia refused to let his condition define who he is. Instead, he embraced life with courage and creativity. He took to social media, especially TikTok, using his platform to spread joy, connect with others, and inspire people by dancing, smiling, and showing everyday moments of his life. Despite the hardships, Aliazia continues to live fully, interacting with fans, sharing his journey, and encouraging others to look beyond appearances. His story isn't just about a rare physical condition. It's about strength, resilience, and the human spirit. This is Aliazia Caldwell, a reminder that courage doesn't come from perfection, but from living boldly in the face of the unexpected. Roberto Esquivel Cabrera is a 60-year-old man from Saltillo, Mexico, who became internationally known after being credited with having the largest male private part in the world. While many people may not immediately recognize his name, his images and videos quickly went viral, drawing massive attention online. Roberto claims that his private part measures an extraordinary 18.9 inches, a size that he hopes will one day be officially recognized by Guinness World Records. His story gained widespread attention in 2015, after a video showing him measuring his anatomy spread rapidly across the internet. Despite his claims, the current record is still associated with Jonah Falcon, who has publicly questioned Roberto's measurements and suggested that the claim may not meet official record standards. For Roberto, his condition is a source of pride, but it has also come with serious consequences. The extreme size has caused him multiple medical and mobility issues, affecting his ability to live a normal daily life. Because of these challenges, Roberto has reportedly been registered as disabled, highlighting how his condition has impacted his health and independence. His story shows that everything extreme comes with a cost. While Roberto Esquivel Cabrera continues to seek recognition and acceptance, his case remains one of the most controversial and talked about examples of extraordinary human body proportions in the world. Didi Kaswara was an Indonesian carpenter whose life changed after a small wound on his knee began developing unusual warts when he was still young. Over time, those growths spread across his hands, feet, face, and body, making even the simplest daily tasks incredibly difficult. What started as a minor injury slowly turned into one of the world's most shocking medical cases, and Didi became known worldwide as the Tree Man. Doctors said his condition was linked to a rare disorder that allowed wart-like growths to spread uncontrollably. As the years passed, the disease did more than change his appearance. It affected his movement, cost him his job, and deeply changed his personal life. He was separated from his wife and children and eventually had to live with the pain and hardship caused by the condition every day. In 2008, Didi underwent major surgery, and doctors removed about 6 kilograms or 13 pounds of warts from his body after 9 operations. For a while, the treatment made a huge difference. He could use his hands again, write, and even do more on his own. But the relief did not last forever, because the warts eventually started growing back. His case showed just how severe and difficult this condition could be to control. Didi Kaswara's story was heartbreaking, but it also reminded the world how powerful and mysterious the human body can be. He kept hoping for a cure and for a chance to return to a normal life and his carpentry work. Didi died on January 30, 2016 in Indonesia at the age of 44 after complications related to his condition. His story remains one of the most unforgettable medical cases ever seen. Pakirappa Hunagundi is a man from Karnataka, India, who became known around the world for one of the strangest eating habits ever reported. According to media coverage, he said he had been eating bricks, mud, gravel, and even bits of charcoal since he was around 10 years old. Over time, that unusual habit turned him into a viral curiosity, with people struggling to believe that someone could survive on non-food items like that. Doctors and health sources say this kind of behavior is often linked to pica, a disorder where a person persistently eats non-nutritive, non-food materials. Medical references note that pica can involve things like dirt, clay, chalk, or other substances that are not meant to be eaten, and it can lead to serious health problems such as infections, intestinal blockages, and poisoning. What made Pakarapa's case even more shocking was that reports said he ate these materials every day, while claiming he did not feel satisfied by normal food. Some stories described him eating up to several kilograms of bricks, gravel, and mud daily, which made his condition even more unbelievable to the public. Whether people saw him as bizarre or fascinating, his story revealed how rare eating disorders can push the human body into dangerous and mysterious territory. Pakirapa Hunagundi remains one of the most unusual real-life cases ever shared online, a reminder that the human body and mind can sometimes behave in ways that doctors and ordinary people still struggle to fully explain. Gabriel Estevam Monjan was one of the tallest people ever recorded in human history. Born in Manakaze, Mozambique in 1944, he eventually reached an incredible height of around 8 feet and 3/4 of an inch, or about 245 centimeters. Because of this extraordinary size, he became recognized as one of the tallest men in the world and was even listed by Guinness World Records as the tallest living man during the late 1980s. According to reports, Gabriel's unusual growth was caused by an overactive pituitary gland, which led to gigantism. His body began growing rapidly while he was still young, and by the age of 17 he was already nearly 8 feet tall. Because of his massive height, he eventually joined a Portuguese circus, where people from different countries came to see the giant from Mozambique. As his fame grew, Gabriel traveled across Europe and later became internationally known. But despite the attention, life was not easy for him. Reports say he suffered serious leg and hip problems because of the strain his enormous body placed on his joints. Simple activities that most people take for granted became painful and difficult over time. In the 1980s, after the deaths of other record holders, Gabriel Monjan officially became recognized as the tallest living man in the world. His story amazed millions because very few people in medical history have ever reached 8 feet in height. Even today, he remains one of the tallest Africans ever documented. Sadly, Gabriel Estevam Monjan died in 1990 after suffering a fall at his home. But decades later, his name is still remembered as one of the most extraordinary human stories ever recorded in Africa. Francisco Domingo Joaquim, from Angola, became famous around the world for one of the most unusual records ever measured. Guinness World Records says his mouth measured 17 centimeters, or 6.69 inches, when unstretched, earning him the title of having the world's widest mouth. The record was officially measured in Rome, Italy, on 18 March 2010 during the Italian TV show Lo Show dei Record. What made people stop and stare was not just the record itself, but what he could actually do with it. Guinness and news reports noted that Francisco could fit a 330 ml drink can into his mouth, and he even set another Guinness record by putting a drink can in his mouth 14 times in 1 minute. That bizarre talent made him a viral sensation and one of the most talked about record holders of his time. Before the fame, Francisco first got attention online, and Guinness later tracked him down to verify the measurement properly. After that, his name started appearing in record features and TV specials, where he was introduced as the man with the widest mouth in the world. His story became one of those rare human records that people never forget because it looks almost impossible at first glance. Francisco Domingo Joaquim's story is a perfect example of how extraordinary human features can turn an ordinary person into a world record holder. In a list full of rare bodies and unbelievable traits, his name definitely belongs there because his record is still one of the most shocking ever seen. In the world of extraordinary human records, hair has become a symbol of patience, culture, and identity. And one woman has taken that to an unbelievable level. Meet Asha Mandela, a resident of Claremont, Florida, USA, who holds the record for the longest locks ever documented. According to Guinness World Records, her locks were officially measured on November 11, 2009, and reached an incredible length of 5.96 meters. That's 19 feet and 6.5 inches. This achievement secured her place in history as the woman with the longest dreadlocks at the time. But what makes her story even more remarkable is that her hair didn't stop growing. Over the years, Asha continued her natural hair journey. Based on information shared in her public biography on social media, her locks have reportedly grown to an astonishing 33.5 meters, approximately 110 feet long. Growing her locks began as a personal and spiritual choice decades ago. What started as self-expression eventually turned into a global record. Maintaining hair of that length is not easy. Her locks can weigh a significant amount, requiring assistance when washing and careful wrapping to prevent damage. Despite the physical challenges, Asha has embraced her identity with pride. She often describes her locks as a symbol of strength, patience, and dedication. Her journey proves that sometimes the longest path, quite literally, becomes a record-breaking legacy. Born in Rwanda in 1999, Nsanzimana Ely's life was marked by a condition that made him stand out from everyone around him. He was born with microcephaly, a rare disorder that affects brain development and can lead to a much smaller head size, learning difficulties, and communication challenges. Because of the way he looked and behaved, people in his village mocked him, and some even called him names like Monkey. According to reports, Ely spent much of his life hiding in the forest to escape bullying and cruel treatment from others. He was said to be nonverbal and struggled with learning, which made life even harder for him. Instead of receiving understanding, he was often treated as an outcast in his own community. But Ely's story changed when people finally began to pay attention to what he had gone through. Media reports said he later received help and support, and he eventually joined a school where he could begin learning basic skills and experience a more normal life. For many viewers, his story became a powerful reminder that behind every viral, unusual human story is a real person who deserves dignity, care, and respect. Nsanzimana Ely's life is heartbreaking, but also inspiring. It shows how cruelty can isolate someone, but compassion can open the door to a better future. His story remains one of the most unforgettable human interest cases to come out of Rwanda. Meet Godfrey Baguma, once a humble cobbler from Uganda, who, as he grew older, developed a rare medical condition that dramatically changed his appearance. Over time, Baguma reportedly began to suffer from a deforming illness that altered his facial features. His unusual appearance led him in 2002 to participate in a contest for Ugliest Man, which he won, not as a compliment, but as a way to provide for his struggling family. Then enters Kate Namanda, a woman who defied judgment and prejudice. When Kate fell in love with Baguma, her family, and even friends, rejected their relationship, calling him too ugly and insisting he wasn't worthy of her. But Kate followed her heart. She ignored the taunts and warnings. According to interviews, what mattered to her was Baguma's honesty, character, and sincerity, not his appearance. They started dating in the mid-2000s. After having several children together, their first child arrived around 2008, they decided to legalize their union. The couple officially married in 2013. Since then, Baguma and Kate have raised a large family together. By 2015, they reportedly had welcomed their 8th child. Despite public scrutiny and societal prejudice, their love endured. Baguma transformed his life, from cobbler to performer, using his uniqueness as a point of identity. He now does public appearances, comedy, and singing gigs. In the words of Kate, once you find the right person, don't let society's standards define your choice. For them, love wasn't about looks. It was about acceptance, loyalty, and faith in each other. Their story reminds us, sometimes the strongest bonds are forged not in perfection, but in courage, compassion, and unconditional love. Manuel Uribe was a man from Monterrey, Mexico, who became known around the world for having one of the most extreme obesity cases ever recorded. In January 2006, Guinness World Records recognized him as the heaviest living man, with a weight of about 560 kilograms or 1,235 pounds. His story shocked the world because his condition made even the simplest movement nearly impossible. But Manuel's life was not just about a number on a scale. He was a real person fighting a terrifying medical battle. After making a public plea for help on television, he received support from doctors and nutritionists, and he began an intense weight loss journey. By 2007 and 2008, reports said he had already lost hundreds of kilograms, showing that his situation, while severe, was not without hope. His story also became widely known because of the dramatic way he lived. Reports said he had been bedridden for years, and in 2008 he even made headlines for marrying his partner Claudia Solis while lying in a specially reinforced bed. That moment showed that even in the middle of extreme health struggles, Manuel was still holding on to life, love, and dignity. Sadly, Manuel Uribe died in Monterrey in May 2014 at the age of 48. News reports said he had been hospitalized with heart-related problems before his death, and at that time he reportedly weighed about 394 kilograms or 867 pounds. His passing marked the end of one of the most widely documented obesity cases in history. Manuel Uribe's story remains unforgettable because it shows both the danger of extreme obesity and the human side behind it. He was not just a record holder, he was a man trying to survive, recover, and live a normal life against impossible odds. Born in Istanbul in 1953, Eşref Arman came into the world completely blind. According to reports, one of his eyes never fully developed, and he had no usable vision from birth. But instead of letting that define the rest of his life, he discovered something extraordinary. He could create art through touch, imagination, and memory. As a young boy, Eşref became fascinated by drawing and slowly taught himself how to sketch and paint without ever seeing the world around him. He learned to understand shapes, perspective, and color in a way that seemed impossible to most people. Over time, he developed a unique process that allowed him to turn what he felt into detailed paintings. What makes his story so unbelievable is not just that he paints while blind, it is that his work shows real depth and structure. His paintings have been described as remarkably detailed, with landscapes, objects, and scenes that reflect an understanding of the visual world that many thought a blind person could never develop. His art challenged what people believed was possible. Eşref Arman's life became an inspiration far beyond Turkey. He showed the world that creativity is not limited by sight, and that talent can appear in ways no one expects. Through patience, discipline, and determination, he turned a lifelong disability into one of the most inspiring artistic stories ever told. Today, Eşref Arman stands as a reminder that human ability can go far beyond what we think is possible. His story is not just about blindness, it is about vision, persistence, and the power to create beauty from within. Derek Amato's story sounds impossible at first. In 2006, he was a 39-year-old man visiting family when he dove into a swimming pool, hit his head, and suffered a serious concussion, along with hearing and memory loss. He was not known as a professional musician before that moment. But just days after the accident, something extraordinary happened. He sat at a piano and began playing as if he had spent his whole life doing it. Derek later described hearing music in his head constantly and seeing moving shapes that seemed to guide his fingers across the keys. In his own account, neurologists evaluated him and described his condition as acquired savant syndrome, a rare situation in which an injury or neurological event appears to unlock a striking new ability. He also said he could see the music in a form of synesthesia, and that the experience felt like something inside his brain had been switched on. Before the accident, he had played guitar a little, but nothing on the level he suddenly reached on piano. Afterward, he was able to create original music, work with special software to turn his performances into notation, and pursue music full-time after leaving his corporate job. His story drew widespread attention because it challenged what people thought the brain could do after trauma. Derek Amato's case remains one of the most fascinating examples of how mysterious the human brain can be. For some people, injury only takes things away. For Derek, it seemed to reveal a gift no one expected was there.
Johnny Strange isn't just a sideshow performer, he's a walking world-breaking spectacle. Hailing from Lancashire, England, he's earned global fame and multiple Guinness World Records for doing things with his body no one else dares to try. His most jaw-dropping feat? Pulling a full-sized airplane using nothing but his pierced earlobes? Yes, you heard that right. In 2014, Johnny attached hooks to his stretched ear piercings and dragged a Cessna 172 plane weighing over 1,400 pounds across a runway, all while keeping his balance and composure. This earned him the official Guinness World Record for the heaviest weight pulled by pierced ears. But that wasn't enough. In 2016, he broke his own record by lifting 21.63 kilograms, over 47 pounds, from his ears, proving he really does have ears of steel. But Johnny's not a one-trick performer. His extreme talents include sword swallowing inside the globe of death, juggling chainsaws and enduring animal traps and bed-of-nails stunts. His shows are a mix of danger, discipline, and dark humor. And he treats his body like a finely tuned machine built for pain-defying performance. While most people can't even bear a tug on their earlobe, Johnny Strange turns his into a record-breaking weapon of strength, making him one of the most unbelievable human performers on Earth. This is Nasib Dahir Abdi, a Somali police officer who suffered critical injuries in a car bomb explosion in Mogadishu. On June 11, 2023, an improvised explosive device attached to his vehicle detonated at the busy Zubi intersection, a location that has seen multiple attacks in recent years. The blast destroyed his car and left Officer Abdi in critical condition. While detailed reports about his recovery remain limited, it has been said that he endured life-altering brain injuries. Cases like his demonstrate the incredible adaptability of the human brain. Through a process called neuroplasticity, the brain can reorganize itself, allowing patients to regain abilities even after devastating trauma. Officer Abdi's story is not just about survival, but about resilience, a reminder of the dangers faced daily by security personnel in conflict zones, and the remarkable strength of the human spirit.
Have you ever seen someone stretch their ears like rubber, and it's completely real? Meet Ayumi Takada, a young woman from Japan who stunned the internet with her extraordinary ability. Ayumi can stretch her earlobes up to 4.5 centimeters, bending and pulling them in ways that seem almost impossible. At first glance, it looks like a special effect, but there's no editing, no tricks, just natural elasticity. Her unusual flexibility quickly caught global attention, earning her the nickname Elastic Girl. What makes this so fascinating is how rare it is. Human skin contains collagen and connective tissue that determine how far it can stretch. While everyone has some level of elasticity, Ayumi's earlobes extend far beyond what most people can safely do. There is no publicly confirmed medical condition linked to her ability. Instead, her case highlights something powerful, the incredible variation of the human body. Ayumi Takada reminds us that sometimes the most unbelievable things aren't found in movies. They exist in real life.
Daniel Browning Smith, famously known as the Rubber Boy, is an American contortionist, actor, stuntman, and television host celebrated for his extraordinary flexibility. Born on May 8, 1979, in Meridian, Mississippi, Smith discovered his unique ability at the age of 4 when he performed a straddle split after jumping from a bunk bed, astonishing his family. This early display of flexibility sparked his ambition to become the world's greatest contortionist. In his teenage years, Smith honed his skills by street performing, and at 18, joined the Bindlestiff Family Circus. He later trained under Master Liu Yi at the San Francisco School of Circus Arts, mastering the ancient art of Chinese acrobatics. His exceptional flexibility is attributed to hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, HEDS, a genetic condition affecting collagen production, resulting in extremely mobile joints and elastic skin. Despite the challenges associated with HEDS, Smith experienced only moderate pain during most of his career, though he eventually retired from performing as his condition progressed. Smith's remarkable talents have earned him 7 Guinness World Records, including the title of Most Flexible Man. His contortion abilities have led to appearances in various television shows and films, such as CSI, NY, Monk, Carnival, and You Don't Mess with the Zohan. He also hosted Stan Lee's Superhumans, a documentary series exploring individuals with extraordinary abilities. Beyond acting, Smith has performed at NBA halftime shows and contributed to motion capture for video games. His extensive range of motion once overwhelmed motion capture software, necessitating reprogramming to accommodate his movements. Daniel Browning Smith's career exemplifies how embracing one's unique abilities can lead to remarkable achievements, inspiring audiences worldwide with his unparalleled flexibility and dedication to his craft.
Meet Stef Sanjati, born Stefan Peloza, a Canadian creator of Croatian and Scottish descent. From birth, Stef lived with Waardenburg syndrome, a rare genetic condition that affects pigmentation and sometimes hearing. The condition gave her a striking white forelock of hair, intensely bright blue eyes set slightly wider apart than average, and it also left her deaf in her left ear. Growing up in Wallaceburg, Ontario, Stef experienced severe bullying, not only because of her rare facial features, but also for being feminine. The harassment became so overwhelming that she was often driven to school, and it contributed to deep social anxiety. But Stef found something powerful: the internet. Online, she discovered a space where she could safely explore her identity. After college, she came out as transgender and began documenting her journey publicly. In December 2016, she underwent facial feminization surgery, but made one defining choice. She refused to alter any of her Waardenburg features. She embraced them fully. Through YouTube, where she built a community of over 554,000 subscribers, known as the Bread Squad, Stef became known for makeup tutorials, mental health discussions, and educational content about transgender identity. In 2020, she stepped away from beauty content and later shifted toward gaming and tech, continuing to evolve on her own terms. Stef Sanjati's story isn't just about being rare, it's about resilience, identity, and the courage to stand proudly in who you are. Imagine waking up one morning and something unimaginable begins happening with your own body. That was the reality for a young girl named Hasna Muslimani, a teenage girl from Lebanon who became the center of an extraordinary medical story. According to reports from the Associated Press, Hasna claimed that she was shedding small, crystal-like fragments from her eyes, producing as many as 8 to 10 pieces each day, without causing herself any visible injury or pain. Her family and local witnesses were astounded, and the bizarre nature of the phenomenon quickly drew international attention. Clips and images circulated showing what appeared to be dozens of sharp, glassy shards, reportedly collected after coming from her eyes. However, as sensational as the story sounded, medical professionals weighed in with skepticism. Doctors from the American University Hospital in Beirut reportedly examined the case and eventually determined that the spectacle did not appear medically genuine, suggesting that the crystals may have been concealed or placed externally rather than produced by Hasna's body. Despite the controversy, the case became one of those rare moments where the public's curiosity and the limits of medical understanding collided, prompting questions about what's possible, what's hoaxed, and how we interpret extraordinary claims. Whether you see Hasna's story as a real mystery or a cautionary tale about claims that defy science, it remains one of the most talked about unusual human stories from the 1990s. A reminder that the line between wonder and skepticism is often razor thin. Meet Abby Bella, a UK-based actress who made headlines after saying she was taken from her bedroom window by a group of aliens and brought aboard a UFO. According to reports by Daily Star, Abby said a bright green beam transported her into a spacecraft after she had joked online about wanting to be abducted. She claimed the beings were tall, slender, and humanoid, and that there were 5 of them. The encounter, she said, lasted around 20 minutes before she was safely returned home. But what truly shocked readers was what came next. Abby stated that she fell in love with one of the extraterrestrials, describing him as an advanced being from the Andromeda Galaxy. She even referred to him as her soulmate, saying he was a better partner than men on Earth, and claimed she is now waiting for a second meeting. The Mirror. There is, however, no scientific evidence supporting her account. Experts generally categorize alien abduction stories as personal experiences or belief-based narratives rather than verified extraterrestrial contact. Still, stories like Abby's continue to capture global attention, reflecting humanity's long fascination with UFOs, alien life, and the mysteries of the universe. Whether seen as belief, imagination, or something she truly feels happened, her story reminds us how powerful the unknown can be. Imagine looking in the mirror and slowly watching your skin turn blue. Not from paint, not from lighting, but permanently. This was the real-life story of Paul Carrison, an American man who became globally known as the Blue Man. For most of his life, Paul looked like anyone else. But in the 1990s, he began taking a homemade solution of colloidal silver. He believed it would help treat a skin condition and other health concerns after reading alternative health claims about its benefits. At first, nothing seemed unusual, but over time, silver particles began building up inside his body. Eventually, his skin started changing color, turning a deep blue-gray shade that would never fade. Doctors later confirmed he had developed argyria, a rare condition caused by excessive silver exposure. According to medical explanations from the Mayo Clinic, silver particles deposit into the skin and react to light, similar to how photographic chemicals darken when exposed to sunlight. The result is permanent discoloration. While argyria is not typically life-threatening, the pigmentation cannot be reversed. Paul's striking appearance quickly attracted international media coverage. He was interviewed by NBC and featured by ABC News, where doctors publicly explained the medical cause behind his condition. Despite public curiosity, Paul stated he did not regret his choices. However, medical professionals consistently warned about the dangers of self-medicating with unregulated silver products. In 2013, Paul Carrison passed away at the age of 62 due to heart-related complications and pneumonia, not directly from argyria. His case remains one of the most well-documented modern examples of argyria and serves as a cautionary reminder. Even substances believed to be harmless can have permanent consequences. Claudio Vieira de Oliveira is a Brazilian motivational speaker born with a rare condition called arthrogryposis multiplex congenita, AMC, a disorder that causes severe joint contractures and limited muscle development. Because of AMC, Claudio's neck developed in an extreme backward position, causing his head to rest upside down against his spine. His limbs were also significantly affected. His arms remained fixed close to his chest, and he experienced muscle atrophy in both his arms and legs. At birth, doctors reportedly believed he would not survive and advised his mother to let him go, but she refused. As he grew older, Claudio adapted to the world in extraordinary ways. He learned to move independently, beginning to walk on his knees at the age of 8. Over time, he developed methods to perform daily tasks using his mouth and chin, typing on a computer, writing with a pen, answering phone calls, and operating household electronics. Despite his physical challenges, his intellectual development was not affected. Claudio went on to earn a degree in accounting and later became an international motivational speaker. Today, he shares his story around the world, not as a symbol of limitation, but as proof that perspective, resilience, and adaptation can redefine what is possible. What if your bones were as fragile as glass, but your ambition was unbreakable? Meet Carrie Velasquez, a 29-year-old makeup artist from Ponce, Puerto Rico, who is on a mission to challenge how disabled women are represented in the fashion and beauty industry. Carrie was diagnosed with osteogenesis imperfecta just 3 days before she was born, a rare genetic disorder often called brittle bones disease. The condition affects bone strength, making fractures far more likely and sometimes limiting mobility. But Carrie refused to let that define her limits. 3 years ago, inspired by beauty creators on YouTube, she began professionally doing makeup. What started as passion quickly became purpose. Through her artistry, Carrie not only enhances faces, she challenges stereotypes. In an industry that often prioritizes a narrow standard of beauty, Carrie represents something powerful: visibility. She shows that disability does not erase femininity, creativity, or ambition. Her work speaks louder than assumptions. Each brushstroke becomes a statement that representation matters and that women with disabilities belong in fashion, beauty, and media spaces. Carrie Velasquez isn't just a makeup artist. She's proof that strength isn't always about muscles or bones. Sometimes it's about resilience. Shyla Madison Calvert-Yin is a young girl from Australia who was diagnosed with uncombable hair syndrome, a rare genetic condition that makes the hair grow in a way that is dry, frizzy, wiry, and impossible to comb neatly. Instead of lying flat, her hair stands out in different directions, giving her a look that many people find unforgettable. Her hair began to look different when she was still very young. At first, her family noticed that it would not lie down the way other children's hair did. Over time, the condition became more obvious, and Shyla eventually became known online for her striking appearance and her confident attitude toward it. What makes Shyla's story so powerful is not just the rare condition itself, but the way she responds to it. Instead of hiding, she embraced what makes her different. Reports about her describe her as someone who loves how her hair sets her apart, and that confidence is a big part of why her story stood out to so many people. Shyla's case also helped more people learn that uncombable hair syndrome is a real medical condition, not just a strange hairstyle. It is often compared to the wild hair of fictional characters or scientists, but for the people who live with it, it is part of their everyday life. In a world where people are often judged for looking different, Shyla's story is a reminder that uniqueness can be something beautiful. She became known not because she tried to fit in, but because she chose to stand out with confidence. Edibar Elchiev is an Azerbaijani strongman famous around the world for his incredible ability to make metal objects stick to his body. He became internationally known in 2011 after demonstrating what many called human magnetism, where he attached spoons, irons, plates, and even heavy metal tools onto his chest and back without any adhesive. His shocking talent quickly went viral, earning him recognition from record organizations and media outlets. Edibar's most famous moment happened in 2013 when he attempted a spectacular world record, sticking 53 metal spoons to his body at once. Photos and videos showed the spoons hanging perfectly from his torso, impressing spectators and earning him a place among the world's most unusual performers. Scientists have explained that his magnetism is not actual magnetic force, but a combination of extremely sticky skin, strong posture control, and body balance, a phenomenon seen in a few rare individuals around the world. Still, Edibar's ability remains extraordinary because he can hold large and heavy objects far better than most people with similar traits. Beyond his record attempts, Edibar Elchiev has used his fame to promote fitness, body control, and the idea that every person has hidden abilities waiting to be discovered. His strange and fascinating skill continues to make him one of the most unique and memorable individuals ever featured in unusual human records. Meet Ramesh Darji, an 11-year-old boy from Bagalung, Nepal, who is often called the Stone Boy. From just days after his birth, his skin began to peel and regenerate abnormally, growing into thick, hardened, scale-like plates that cover his entire body. Over time, these scales have caused his skin to become rigid and immobile, giving the appearance that he's turning into stone. Doctors diagnosed him with a severe form of ichthyosis, a group of genetic skin disorders marked by dry, scaly, thickened skin. Because of this condition, Ramesh has faced extreme pain, difficulties walking, and being largely housebound. His family struggles financially and has had limited access to proper medical care. Thanks to global attention and support, treatments have begun. He is receiving care at Kathmandu Medical College, where doctors hope to gently remove some of the hardened scales and improve mobility through therapies. Supporters and charity efforts continue to raise funds to give him better chances of a more comfortable and active life. Ramesh's story is a powerful example of human resilience. Even in a body that seems slowly stiffening, his hope for relief and treatment still shines. In Bangladesh, one extraordinary family has captured the attention of scientists due to a genetic trait that most of us would find almost impossible to imagine. They were born without fingerprints. Known as the Sarkar family, several members across multiple generations live with a rare inherited condition called adermatoglyphia. This genetic mutation prevents the formation of the typical ridge patterns on the fingers and palms, which normally develop before birth. As a result, individuals with this condition have completely smooth fingertips, making it extremely difficult for fingerprint scanners to recognize their identity. In fact, some members of the Sarkar family have reportedly faced challenges when applying for official identification documents that require biometric fingerprint verification. Scientists later discovered that this condition is caused by a mutation in the SMARCAD1 gene, a gene involved in skin development. Because of its unusual impact on biometric identification systems, adermatoglyphia is sometimes informally referred to as immigration delay disease. Today, the Sarkar family continues to be studied by researchers seeking to better understand the role genetics play in skin pattern formation and identity-related biological traits, offering valuable insight into the diversity of human development. Magali Gonzalez Sierra is a teenager from Colombia who lives with Hutchinson-Gilford progeria syndrome, HGPS, a rare genetic disorder that causes children to age at an astonishingly rapid rate. Though she turned 15, her body exhibits signs typically associated with the elderly: stiff joints, frailty, loss of hair, and hardened skin, among others, making her appear decades older than her true age. Patients with progeria often have a very short life expectancy, commonly not living beyond their early teens, so Magali's milestone birthday was viewed as remarkable by doctors. When she celebrated her quinceañera, the Latin American rite of turning 15, her family and community organized a grand celebration to honor her life. She wore a lilac gown, a wig and tiara, and arrived in a decorated carriage, living her dream princess moment despite all the challenges. Magali first showed symptoms as an infant. Her skin hardened, she lost hair, including eyebrows and eyelashes, and by the age of 10 months, signs of accelerated aging began to appear. Over time, her mobility declined and she struggles with many complications typical of progeria. Her story is both heartbreaking and inspiring, a vivid reminder of how each life, no matter how brief or fraught with challenge, deserves to be celebrated.
Arya Permana is an Indonesian teenager whose story captured global attention because of the extreme change he underwent. When he was about 9 years old, Arya weighed around 190 kilograms, actually about 423 pounds, which made everyday life very difficult. He was unable to walk long distances, often ran out of breath, even struggled to bathe in a normal shower and had to use a specially built outdoor pool instead. His weight gain escalated quickly around 2014 when his appetite increased dramatically. He was eating about 5 meals a day, enough to feed 2 people at times. Because of his size and health issues, he couldn't continue attending school and was socially isolated. In order to regain his health, Arya underwent a significant transformation. With medical help, lifestyle changes, and the support of Adi Rai, A well-known Indonesian fitness celebrity, he adopted a strict diet, regular exercise, and in 2017 had bariatric surgery, a procedure to reduce the size of his stomach, to help reduce his huge appetite. Over a few years, Arya lost more than half of his maximum weight. At his reduced weight, he was reportedly around 87 kilograms, far lower than his peak, and able to do more normal activities again. Today, Arya is often referred to as a symbol of hope, showing that even extreme challenges can be overcome with determination, medical intervention, and the right support. His journey has inspired many to believe change is possible. Born very premature at around 30 weeks, little Nova Joy Hunya entered the world with severe medical challenges. Her jawbones did not properly form, she had a cleft lip and palate, and she was missing her external ear canals. From the start, her breathing was fragile. She needed to stay in hospital, required multiple surgeries, and relied on a feeding tube for nutrition. Her parents, Acacia and Joseph Hunya from Wellington, New Zealand, faced uncertainty early on. Medical specialists worked to keep Nova alive. After her birth, she required a tracheostomy to assist breathing, frequent oxygen support, and other intensive care interventions. Nova also had genetic testing, but doctors still haven't identified a specific syndrome or name for her condition. Despite everything, Nova has made slow but meaningful progress. Walking and motor skills took longer to develop, but her parents celebrate every milestone, every new step, sign of independence, every moment she shows joy. Acacia says that caring for Nova has taught them lessons in patience, kindness, to themselves and others, and the importance of seeing her as a child first, not defined by her condition. Nova's story of resilience, of loving support, and of finding courage in each small victory has touched many. Her family shares her journey openly, inspiring others to see that even when you don't have all the answers, love and hope can light the way. Amaya Stringer was born with several congenital differences that make her journey unique and inspiring. From pregnancy scans around the 20-week mark, doctors noticed that her legs were not developing, and also that her ears and ear canals had abnormalities. When Amaya entered the world, she was born without legs, a result of caudal regression syndrome, which affects the lower spine and prevents the development of legs and other lower body structures. She also has bilateral microtia atresia, which means her outer ears are malformed or underdeveloped, and her ear canals did not fully form, causing her to be hard of hearing and needing hearing aids. Because of additional issues, she was born with a cleft palate and a recessed chin, part of a condition called Pierre-Robin sequence, which made breathing and feeding harder from the start. Early on, she underwent multiple surgeries. Within the first 6 weeks of life, Amaya had crucial operations to help with breathing, feeding, and correcting facial structure. Her medical journey includes frequent therapies, physical therapy to build strength and mobility, occupational therapy, feeding therapy. Her family's home and routines have been adjusted to support her needs, including using sign language, speaking in tones she can hear, adapting her space, and advocating for awareness of her condition. Despite all the challenges, Amaya is described by her parents as joyful, energetic, and full of spirit. She's shown courage through every milestone. For example, crawling with her arms, learning to do everyday things in her own way, and facing surgeries with strength. Her family hopes that as she grows, she will become more independent and that she'll inspire others going through similar situations. Nyla Marie is a 5-year-old girl from Los Angeles who shines as a young fashionista, even while living with a rare skin condition called ichthyosis. Because ichthyosis causes the skin to grow too fast, Nyla's skin becomes very dry and flaky, and she is unable to sweat properly, putting her at risk of overheating. To manage her condition, Nyla and her family take daily care. She baths several times per day to remove excess skin and help her feel more comfortable. Despite these challenges, Nyla embraces life with style and confidence. She loves fashion, trendy outfits, painting her nails, and modeling in front of the camera. Her condition doesn't stop her from being expressive and creative with her wardrobe. Her story is inspiring because it shows how a child can face medical challenges every day, yet still find joy, creativity, and self-expression. Nyla is a reminder that being different doesn't mean being limited. Her energy, style, and the love she gets from her family show how courage and support can help someone live fully and beautifully. Pranshu is a young boy from Punjab, India, born with a mystery condition that left him unable to walk and with unusual facial features, including a large forehead and deep-set eyes. Locals believe his appearance resembles Lord Ganesha, the Hindu deity, and they worship him as a living god. Every week, crowds visit him to seek blessings, bring flowers, and hope their wishes will be granted. Although doctors have never identified his exact condition, Pranshu says he feels happy being called Ganesha Ji. His family, though poor, is proud of the divine status the community has given him. Pranshu's life shows how mystery, culture, and faith can transform a boy with a rare condition into a symbol of hope and devotion. Muin Bakunayev is a boy from Russia who became famous for having unusually long eyelashes. From the moment he was born, doctors noticed that his lashes were so long they almost touched his lips. As he grew older, his lashes reached a length of around 4.3 to 5 centimeters, which is about 2 inches. They continue to grow slowly each year, making them some of the longest eyelashes ever seen. Doctors, including eye specialists and geneticists, examined him and confirmed that Muin is perfectly healthy. His long lashes are not a sign of illness or disease, they are simply a rare genetic trait. Despite the constant attention, Muin lives like any other child. He goes to school, plays soccer, and enjoys time with friends. His parents say he doesn't need any special care for his lashes and they don't cause him discomfort. Today, Muin is seen as a natural wonder, a reminder that sometimes nature creates unique traits that fascinate the world. Giuliano Stroi, born on June 18, 2004 in Piove di Sacco, Italy, is a Romanian child prodigy renowned for his exceptional strength and athleticism. He began training in gymnastics and bodybuilding at the tender age of 2 under the guidance of his father, Iulian Stro. By the age of 5, Giuliano had already made a name for himself by setting a Guinness World Record for the fastest 10-meter handstand walk with a weight ball between his legs, performed live on Italian television. In 2010, he further showcased his extraordinary abilities by breaking the world record for the most 90-degree push-ups, completing 20 repetitions without letting his feet touch the ground. These feats garnered him international attention and a substantial following on platforms like YouTube and Facebook. Giuliano's rigorous training regimen, often conducted alongside his younger brother Claudio, who is also a bodybuilder, sparked debates about the appropriateness of such intense physical activity for children. While some praised the discipline and dedication instilled by their father, others raised concerns about potential health implications and the pressures of early fame. Despite the controversies, Giuliano continued to pursue his passion for fitness and sports. As he matured, he expanded his interests to include boxing, maintaining his commitment to physical excellence. His journey from a record-breaking child athlete to a dedicated young sportsman serves as a testament to his resilience and the complexities surrounding early athletic specialization.
Born in 1996 in Luliang County, Yunnan Province, China, Chen Hongyan lost both of her legs in a tragic car accident when she was only 4 years old. Her family was poor and couldn't afford prosthetic limbs in those early years. Instead, her grandfather ingeniously cut a basketball in half, lined it with cotton, and helped her use it as a makeshift device so she could move. Locals began calling her the basketball girl. Growing up in a rural area and facing immense physical challenges, Qian found a turning point when she discovered swimming through a local club for disabled athletes. At first she struggled. It seemed there was no way I could float in the water, she recalled. But in the water, she felt a rare freedom. When I'm in the water, I'm the same as other kids, and this is why I love swimming. Years of dedicated training followed, up to 4 hours a day, and by 2009, when she was just 13, she was already winning gold and silver medals in national competitions for disabled athletes. Despite her early promise, she did not immediately make the national Paralympic team. But in 2016, she qualified for the 2016 Summer Paralympics in Rio de Janeiro and competed in the 100-meter breaststroke, finishing 9th overall. Her story has resonated far beyond the pool. She helped shift public attitudes in China toward people with disabilities, showing that physical differences do not limit the human spirit. Today, she remains a symbol of resilience, determination, and transformation. turning a childhood of hardship and a half-basketball wheelchair into an international athletic journey.
Grayson Cole Smith was born on February 15, 2013 in Alabama, with 22 rare birth defects. Doctors said he wouldn't survive long. He was blind, deaf, had a hole in his heart, and was missing parts of his skull and spine. No other child in the world had his exact condition, so doctors named it Grayson syndrome. But Grayson was a fighter. Instead of living for days, he lived for over 8 years. He underwent more than 30 surgeries, including skull, spine, and heart operations. Despite everything, Grayson regained his sight, hearing, and even learned to speak. His favorite things? iPads, baseball, motorcycles, and cheering for Alabama football. His smile lit up every room, and even though his body was fragile, his spirit was unstoppable. A viral meme once mocked his appearance, but his family turned the negativity into awareness, showing the world that Grayson wasn't someone to pity. He was someone to admire. Grayson passed away on July 31, 2021. But his legacy lives on, reminding us that courage isn't about how long you live, it's about how brightly you shine while you're here. Meet Tress Johnson, an extraordinary young man from Missouri born with the incredibly rare condition known as diprosopis, or craniofacial duplication, where parts or even the entirety of the face are mirrored on the skull. His case is so rare that only about 36 individuals worldwide are known to have it. Diprosopis is caused by abnormal activity of the sonic hedgehog SH gene, which plays a critical role in facial development during embryonic growth. Most infants born with this condition do not survive long after birth, but Tress defied these odds. He not only survived, he's flourished and recently celebrated his 18th birthday, a milestone doctors initially never expected. From a challenging start marked by an open cleft and frequent seizures, as many as 400 a day, Tress has benefited from multiple surgeries, one to close his cleft and reshape his skull, and alternative therapies such as cannabis oil, which dramatically reduced his seizures to about 40 per day. Despite developmental delays, Tress continues to thrive under the devoted care of his family. His story stands as a testament to resilience, love, and the mysterious yet powerful influence of our genes. Junior Cox Noon is a British baby born in Brighton, England, who captured attention because of his remarkably thick, voluminous hair, even as an infant. When he was just 10 weeks old, media outlets spotlighted his bouffant hairstyle, so full and glossy that his mother, a hairdresser, had to blow-dry it because it took too long to air-dry. Doctors and nurses initially assumed his hair would shed like that of many newborns, but at 9 weeks his mane was still going strong. His mother, Chelsea Noon, shared that during pregnancy she experienced severe heartburn, and in folklore, strong heartburn is sometimes linked to babies being born with more hair. Today, Junior Cox Noon remains a charming example of how some babies defy common expectations, not because of a disease or deformity, but simply by being extraordinarily hair-rich from birth. Tom Tennant was born in 1993 in Southeast Australia with an extraordinarily large amount of extra skin covering his body. So much so that at birth, he appeared to have enough skin to cover a 5-year-old child. From the moment he was born, doctors were baffled. His parents, Jeff and Debbie Tennant, were shocked when they first saw him. They had ultrasounds during pregnancy that hinted something was not quite right, but nothing prepared them for the severity of the condition. Medical experts observed his skin was extremely wrinkled and noticed his body had elevated levels of hyaluronic acid, about 100 times higher than normal. This is similar to Shar-Pei puppies, a dog breed known for its wrinkled appearance. There was no known medical diagnosis at first. The hope was that as Tom grew, he might grow into his skin, and that the extra skin might settle into a more typical appearance. Growing up was not easy. Tom faced teasing at school and social challenges because of how he looked, but he and his family stayed positive. Over time, his skin appearance gradually improved. People reported that though he still looks unique, the excessive wrinkling is much less noticeable now than when he was born. As of recent reports, Tom is married to a woman named Hannah and lives in Frankston, Victoria, Australia. He embraces his uniqueness and shares a message of self-acceptance. Life's simple. You make choices and you don't look back. In 2016, a baby boy was born in Maghera, Bangladesh, with an astonishing medical condition. He displayed facial features and a physique strikingly similar to that of an elderly man. This was not merely a visual illusion, but due to progeria, also known as Hutchinson-Gilford progeria syndrome, a rare genetic disorder that causes children to age 8 times faster than normal. The infant's parents, Parul and Biswajit Patro, chose joy and acceptance. As his father shared, "Our first child is taken after her mother, but my boy looks like me and I am happy." Doctors confirmed both baby and mother were otherwise healthy and expressed hope for the boy's future. This rare condition captured global attention, earning headlines with descriptions like, "A newborn who resembles an 80-year-old." The story appeared in platforms such as India Today and Yahoo News, documenting both the medical rarity and the family's hopeful outlook. Meet Baby Chanko from Japan, the little girl who became an internet sensation before she could even walk. Born in December 2017, Chanko had something extraordinary. An incredible head of thick, voluminous hair that looked more like a full-grown hairstyle than baby fuzz. By just a few months old, her wild mane caught everyone's attention, and her mom started sharing pictures on Instagram. It didn't take long before Baby Chanko's account exploded in popularity, gaining hundreds of thousands of followers from around the world. People couldn't believe how a baby could have such luscious hair, and she quickly earned the title, "The Baby with the Fabulous Hair." Her fame even caught the eye of major companies, and by the time she turned 1 year old, she became the face of a global hair campaign for Pantene, making her one of the youngest brand ambassadors in history. What made Baby Chanko so beloved wasn't just her unique look, but also the way her story celebrated natural beauty and individuality. From magazine features to television appearances, her hair became her signature and brought smiles to millions of people online. Baby Chanko's journey shows us that sometimes even the smallest among us can make the biggest impression. Meet Zoe Lush, a brave girl from Huntington Beach, California, born with a rare and severe form of osteogenesis imperfecta type 3, a condition so fragile her bones would break in the wind from the slightest pressure. From her very first moments, Zoe's life was marked by fragility. She fractured her collarbone during birth, and by her first few weeks, she'd broken both arms and a leg. Over the course of her first year, she endured nearly 100 fractures. Despite these overwhelming physical challenges, Zoe's spirit remains unbroken. She communicates with sign language and brings warmth and humor into every moment, even when most would expect her to be in pain. Thanks to community support through initiatives like rotting surgeries, which insert expanding metal rods to reinforce her fragile bones, Zoe has shown amazing progress. She's even learning to sit, crawl, and reach for the world around her. Though each move carries the risk of another fracture, Zoe's determination shines through. Her life isn't defined by her breaks. It's defined by her boundless resilience, her family's love, and a spirit that refuses to be contained. Meet Manpreet Singh, a young man from Punjab, India, born in 1995. Who today still bears the physique of a toddler. At just 23 inches tall and weighing around 5 kilograms, 11 pounds, he stopped growing when he was barely 1 year old, and his mind remains at a very early developmental stage. Doctors suspect a hormonal imbalance, potentially Laron syndrome, but a definitive diagnosis has eluded them because Manpreet's family lacks the resources for advanced testing. In many parts of his village, people believe he's an incarnation of God. They lovingly call him Baba, and visitors come seeking his blessing, viewing his condition not with pity, but as a miracle. Manpreet cannot walk or talk. Instead, he communicates through gestures, laughter, tears, and giggles, much like a toddler. He's cared for around the clock by his aunt and uncle, who act as his full-time guardians. Though medically mysterious and emotionally challenging, Manpreet's life reminds us of the strength found in family love and cultural compassion, a poignant story of mystery, devotion, and unshakable human value. Born in the remote village of Jirania Kola in Tripura, India, Runa Begum entered the world with a rare and severe condition called hydrocephalus, which causes excess cerebrospinal fluid to build up in the brain, dramatically enlarging the skull. By the time she was a toddler, her head circumference reached around 94 cm, more than twice that of an average child her age. Her small body couldn't keep up with the growing head. She was unable to sit,
crawl, or roll over. The swelling also impeded her vision and resulted in serious skin and blood flow issues in the head region. In 2013, her plight made international headlines after a photojournalist brought her story to worldwide attention, prompting free treatment at Fortis Hospital in Gurgaon. Following multiple delicate and high-risk surgeries beginning in early 2013, surgeons succeeded in reducing her head size from 94 cm down to 58 mm, giving her a better prognosis for life and movement. Despite the medical progress and the global support she received, including crowdfunding and international awareness, she tragically passed away on June 18, 2017, just months before a final corrective surgery. Runa's story became more than a medical case. It symbolized the struggles of under-resourced rural healthcare, the resilience of a family against daunting odds, and how one image can mobilize global compassion and action. Her life was also documented in the short film Rooting for Runa, 2020, which highlights her care, her family's journey, and the larger issues around access to treatment. Huang Chunsai was born in a small village in China and became internationally known because of an extremely rare condition called neurofibromatosis. This disorder caused a massive tumor to grow on the left side of his face from a very young age. As the years passed, the growth became larger and heavier, eventually weighing more than 30 kilograms, making it one of the largest facial tumors ever recorded. As a child, Huang struggled with everyday life. People in his village were often shocked by his appearance, and many avoided him out of fear because they did not understand his condition. Simple tasks like eating, speaking, and even walking became more difficult as the tumor continued to grow. Despite these challenges, Huang remained determined to survive and support his family. Doctors later diagnosed him with severe neurofibromatosis type 1, a rare genetic disorder that causes tumors to form along nerve tissue. In Huang's case, the condition became so extreme that the tumor stretched from the top of his head down to his chest. His story soon gained attention across China and around the world because many doctors had never seen a case this severe before. In 2007, a team of surgeons at a hospital in Guangzhou performed a dangerous operation to remove part of the tumor. The surgery lasted many hours and involved removing large sections of tissue and blood vessels. Over multiple procedures, doctors successfully removed more than 15 kilograms of the growth, giving Huang a chance to live a more comfortable life. Even after the surgeries, Huang's journey remained difficult. But his story inspired many people because he continued fighting despite years of pain, isolation, and public attention. Today, Huang Chunsai is remembered as one of the most extraordinary medical cases ever documented in China and as a symbol of human endurance in the face of overwhelming challenges. Lu Hao became known worldwide due to his extraordinary weight at an incredibly young age. Born in 2007 in China, Lu Hao was a healthy baby at birth, weighing only 2.6 kilo. However, by the time he was 3 months old, his growth rate accelerated uncontrollably. By the age of just 4 years old, Lu Hao weighed approximately 62 kilograms, over 130 pounds. This made him nearly 5 times heavier than other children his age. Because of this, physical movement became a struggle. Even walking short distances left him exhausted, and his parents often had to transport him using a stroller or a motorcycle. According to reports, Lu Hao's appetite seemed bottomless. He could eat 3 to 4 large bowls of rice in a single sitting. His parents attempted to restrict his diet, but these efforts often resulted in the child throwing extreme tantrums and crying uncontrollably. Out of fear for his well-being and to avoid excessive stress, his parents felt they had no choice but to let him eat. His family traveled to see various specialists in search of answers. While doctors suspected his condition was caused by a hormonal imbalance or a rare genetic disorder known as Prader-Willi syndrome, many tests remained inconclusive regarding the exact cause of his insatiable hunger. Lu Hao's story served as a global wake-up call regarding the serious issue of childhood obesity. To this day, his case remains one of the most widely discussed medical mysteries in China, highlighting the immense challenges a family faces when dealing with an unexplained medical condition. Meet Ben Underwood, a boy who lost both his eyes to a rare infant eye cancer called retinoblastoma. When he was just about 2 to 3 years old, doctors removed his eyes in the hope of saving his life. But instead of letting darkness define him, Ben discovered something extraordinary. By around age 7, he taught himself to see with sound, using a technique known as echolocation. He'd make sharp clicks with his tongue, and his ears would pick up the echoes bouncing off everything around him. From that, his brain constructed a mental map of walls, objects, curbs, people, things we usually see with vision. Because of this ability, Ben could do things many without sight struggle with. He rode a bike, played basketball, rollerbladed, moved through busy streets, avoided obstacles, all without a guide dog or white cane. He navigated with confidence and often said he didn't feel blind. He also had strong family support. His mother, Aquanetta Gordon, refused to let him be defined by his blindness. She encouraged him, treated him as capable, and pushed him to explore and test his limits. Sadly, Ben's cancer returned when he was a teenager. He passed away at age 16 in 2009. But in that time, his story inspired millions, because he showed that limitations can sometimes be rewritten. This is the heartbreaking story of Emmanuel, a young boy also known as Hassan, and his mother, Donata. Emmanuel was born with a severe, rare condition causing his eyes to unnaturally protrude, a daily reality that has shaped his entire life. Donata's struggle began the moment she needed help the most. Emmanuel's father abandoned them, cruelly calling his own son a creature. Heartbreakingly, even their own family and friends urged Donata to give the boy up. Now 12 years old, Emmanuel faces relentless bullying. His peers call him a frog and a beast, forcing him into isolation. He cannot attend a regular school because the other children are terrified of him. His physical pain is constant. He suffers from hearing loss, and his eyes hurt constantly, especially in the sun. Due to the missing muscles that should hold them in place, his eyes sometimes slip out, and his devoted mother, Donata, is forced to gently push them back in. They live in devastating poverty, barely able to secure food or a roof over their heads, making proper medical care an impossible dream. Doctors have confirmed that surgery could be life-changing, a procedure that could fully correct his condition and give him a normal future. But the cost is immense. Donata's only hope is to reach out, begging for the kindness needed to save her son and finally give him the chance he deserves. Xiaolin's story is one of the most unusual reconstructive surgery cases ever reported in China. In 2013, the 22-year-old suffered a serious car accident that damaged his nose. After he did not receive proper treatment right away, the injury became infected and the cartilage began to corrode, leaving surgeons with very limited options. Instead of rebuilding the nose in the usual way, doctors at a hospital in Fuzhou used an advanced technique. They placed a tissue expander on his forehead, shaped the skin into a nose-like form, and used cartilage taken from his ribs to build the structure. What made Xiaolin's case so shocking to the public was the idea that a new nose was literally grown on his forehead before being transplanted back onto his face. Reports said the reconstructed nose had been growing there for about 9 months before the final surgery. Doctors described the new nose as in good shape and expected the transplant to happen soon. For many people, this story showed how far modern reconstructive medicine can go when a patient has suffered severe facial damage. While the image of a nose on the forehead sounds unbelievable, Xiaolin's story is really about medical innovation, patience, and survival. It is a reminder that behind every extraordinary case is a real person who went through pain, uncertainty, and a long recovery process. And in Shaolian's case, surgery gave him a chance to rebuild both his appearance and his life. According to published reports, Chang Tzu-ping was a man from China whose extraordinary story was linked to an extremely rare condition called fetus in fetu, also known as a parasitic twin. In medical literature, this condition is described as a rare congenital anomaly in which a malformed fetus develops inside its twin's body. It is so uncommon that it has only been documented in a small number of cases worldwide. In Chang Tzu-ping's case, reports say he was born with striking facial abnormalities, including an additional head-like growth on his face, along with features such as a scalp, teeth, and a tongue. What made his story even more unbelievable was that the growth was said to respond slightly, making the condition even harder for people to understand at the time. For years, his appearance left him isolated and living a very difficult life. Later, an American surgeon reportedly stepped in and removed the parasitic features, giving him a chance at a better life. Cases like this show how rare and complex human development can be, and why conditions like fetus in fetu continue to fascinate doctors and the public alike. Behind the shocking appearance was a real person who lived through pain, stigma, and an incredibly unusual medical condition. Wei Zhenhuan became known across China and beyond as the country's hairiest man after reports said that hair covered about 96% of his body. He was also officially named the world's hairiest man by Guinness in 2002, which made his case even more widely discussed. His story began when he was still very young. According to reports, hair started growing in his ear canals when he was around 2 years old, and the condition gradually spread across nearly his entire body. Doctors later treated him in Shanghai after the hair in his ears began affecting his hearing. Over time, Yu became more than just a medical curiosity. He worked as a rock singer and appeared in public as someone trying to live confidently despite the attention and stigma that came with his appearance. News reports from China also described him as an aspiring rock star and later covered his efforts to find love and build a normal life. What makes Wei Zhenhuan's story so unforgettable is not only how rare his condition is, but how he kept moving forward in public life despite being stared at and remembered for looking different. His case remains one of the most striking human stories to come out of China. Yao Defen was one of the tallest women ever recorded in modern history. Born in Anhui Province, China in 1972, Yao appeared healthy as a baby, but her family soon noticed something unusual. By the time she was only a few years old, she was already much taller than other children her age. Her growth continued at an extraordinary rate throughout her childhood and teenage years. Doctors later discovered that Yao suffered from a rare condition called gigantism, caused by a tumor affecting her pituitary gland. This condition caused her body to produce excessive growth hormone, making her grow far beyond normal height. Reports say Yao eventually reached an incredible height of around 7 feet 8 inches, or more than 2.3 meters tall, making her one of the tallest women in the world. But behind the world records and media attention was a difficult life. Because of her extreme height, Yao experienced serious health problems, including pain, difficulty walking, and physical weakness. Her large frame also made everyday activities challenging. Despite becoming famous internationally, her family struggled financially for many years and could not always afford proper medical care. As news of her condition spread, Yao appeared in documentaries and television programs around the world. Many people were amazed by her appearance, while others sympathized with the hardships she faced because of her condition. In 2006, doctors reportedly removed the tumor responsible for her abnormal growth, helping improve some of her symptoms. Sadly, Yao Defen passed away in 2012 at the age of 40. Even today, she is remembered not only for her extraordinary height, but also for the challenges she endured throughout her life. Her story remains one of the most remarkable medical cases ever documented in China. Dylan Lombard is a young boy from Scotland who became known worldwide because of his incredibly rare genetic condition called mandibular hypoplasia, deafness, and progeroid features syndrome, MDP syndrome. This disorder is so uncommon that only around 13 people in the entire world are known to have it. MDP affects fat distribution, bone development, and aging features, making the body appear unusually thin with distinctive facial characteristics. Dylan was diagnosed after doctors noticed that he wasn't gaining body fat and had physical features that didn't match typical growth patterns. People with MDP cannot store fat properly, causing their limbs to appear extremely slim, almost as if they are aging faster than normal. The condition also affects hearing, facial development, and hormonal functions. Despite these challenges, Dylan has remained an active, outgoing, and confident young man. Although strangers sometimes stare or misunderstand his appearance, Dylan continues to share his story to spread awareness and kindness. He enjoys photography, music, and connecting with others, proving that a rare condition does not define a person's potential. His positive attitude has made him an inspiration to thousands around the world, especially those dealing with unusual medical challenges. Because MDP syndrome has no cure and is still not fully understood, Dylan works closely with specialists to manage symptoms and stay healthy. His story highlights the importance of compassion, awareness, and support for people with extremely rare conditions, reminding the world that uniqueness can be a source of strength, not shame.
9-year-old Rajeshwari lives in a small tribal village in Chhattisgarh, India, where she suffers from a condition so rare it's left doctors puzzled for years. Her body is covered in thick, stone-like blisters that have hardened her skin and made even the simplest movements painful. Walking, sitting, even lying down is a daily challenge. The condition began to show just after birth, and as she grew older, the symptoms only became more severe. Doctors believe Rajeshwari may be suffering from a rare genetic disorder known as epidermolytic ichthyosis, a type of congenital skin disease that causes extreme scaling and blistering. In some areas, her skin resembles cracked rock, drawing painful stares and curiosity from others in her village. The disease not only affects her physically, it also isolates her socially. Many in her area see her condition as a curse, making life even more difficult for her and her family. Rajeshwari requires daily care, from applying special creams to preventing infections and treating wounds. Unfortunately, advanced treatment is not available in her remote village, and her family cannot afford to travel long distances for proper care. Despite the pain and the isolation, Rajeshwari remains resilient. Her story has drawn attention across India and around the world, highlighting the urgent need for awareness and support for children suffering from rare and neglected conditions like hers.
Meet Yu Jiangxia, a woman from Shanghai, China, who holds the official title for the longest individual eyelash ever recorded. According to Guinness World Records, her upper left eyelash was carefully measured on May 20th, 2021 in Shanghai and reached an astonishing length of 20.5 centimeters, or 8.07 inches. That's longer than a standard smartphone. But what makes her story even more remarkable is that this record didn't happen overnight. Yu Jiangxia first entered the record books in 2016, when her eyelash measured 12.4 centimeters. Even at that time, it was already considered extraordinary. However, instead of stopping, the eyelash continued to grow naturally over the years, adding another 8.1 centimeters by 2021. What's even more fascinating is that she has stated she did not use special products, extensions, or treatments to achieve this length. The growth happened naturally. In interviews, Yu Jiangxia has shared that she believes her unusually long eyelash may be connected to years of meditation and spiritual practice. While there is no scientific confirmation linking meditation to eyelash growth, doctors agree that such extreme growth is extremely rare. Today, her record remains unbeaten, turning a simple eyelash into a global phenomenon, and proving that sometimes the most unexpected features can make history. In a small village in Sichuan province, China, an elderly woman became the center of international attention because of a rare and unusual medical condition. Her name is Liang Xiuzhen, an 87-year-old villager from Guiyan village in Xiang City. Locals and media later nicknamed her the Unicorn Woman, due to a horn-like growth that developed in the middle of her forehead. According to reports from her son, Wang Chaojun, it all began around 8 years earlier as what appeared to be a small black mole on her head. At first it didn't seem serious, but over time the growth slowly became larger and harder. Then, about 2 years later, something shocking happened. The mole developed into a finger-sized, horn-like mass protruding from her forehead. As the growth continued, it became more visible and more unusual in appearance. Medical experts believe the condition is known as a cutaneous horn, a rare skin growth made of compacted keratin, the same protein found in human hair and nails. While these growths can vary in size, large and visible cases like Liang's are extremely uncommon. Although the nickname Unicorn Woman spread quickly in the media, her story is ultimately about an elderly woman living quietly in a rural village, facing an unusual medical condition later in life. Her case reminds us that sometimes rare medical phenomena can appear unexpectedly, even in the most ordinary lives. Wu Xiaoyan is a young woman from Qingyuan County in Zhejiang Province, China, whose case drew international attention after being reported by the German newspaper Bild. She was diagnosed with fibrous dysplasia of the maxillofacial region, a rare bone disorder where normal bone is replaced with abnormal fibrous tissue, causing deformity and progressive growth in affected areas. According to reports, Wu began showing symptoms at the age of 9, when a tumor in her facial bone started compressing her optic nerve. Over time, she lost her vision and experienced difficulty breathing through her nose due to the expanding mass. For more than a decade, the condition continued to progress, significantly altering the structure of her face. Fibrous dysplasia is uncommon, and severe cases affecting the skull and facial bones can lead to major functional and cosmetic complications. Wu Xiaoyan's story highlights not only the challenges of living with a rare medical condition, but also the importance of access to early diagnosis and specialized care. This is a story of a mother's relentless and heartbreaking fight against a life-threatening illness. This is Teresa, and this is her baby, born with a severe progressive swelling of the head. Teresa's journey began like any other mother's, but late in her pregnancy, doctors delivered devastating news. Her child had a problem. When the baby was born, the swelling was small, but it never stopped growing. For months, Teresa ran from one hospital to another, desperately seeking a cure. But every visit ended the same way. The doctors would transfer them, admitting they could not handle a case this severe. The swelling became so large that carrying the baby became nearly impossible, forcing the parents to rely on a stroller. Meanwhile, advice from friends and family was often to give up, to stop spending all they had on a seemingly lost cause. But Teresa refused to surrender. She continued her fight until one honest doctor delivered the final, painful truth. The surgery that could save her child's life was not possible in their country. The only hope was a life-saving operation thousands of miles away in India. Facing a colossal financial barrier, the family had completely lost hope. That is when our cameras visited them, and their story was told to the world. Thanks to incredible generosity, they have gained a small measure of hope and started the long process to leave the country. But the journey is far from over. The cost of visas, travel, and the essential surgery remains astronomical. Charlotte Garside, often called the smallest girl in the world, was born with an extremely rare form of primordial dwarfism that left doctors unsure if she would even survive infancy. When she was born, Charlotte weighed barely more than a loaf of bread and was so tiny that she could fit in the palm of her parents' hands. Because her condition was so rare and poorly understood, doctors could not give her family a clear diagnosis or a prediction of how long she might live. Despite her fragile size, Charlotte grew up with a strong personality. Standing only around 27 inches tall as a young child, she faced daily challenges: weak muscles, a delicate immune system, and the constant need for medical supervision. But she refused to let her small stature limit her spirit. Her parents described her as bold, curious, energetic, and full of life. A child who loved playing, exploring, and learning just like any other kid. Charlotte often captured worldwide attention because of her appearance, but her family made sure people understood that she was more than just the smallest girl. She was a fighter with a bright mind and a fearless attitude. Though her body was tiny, her courage was enormous. Charlotte Garcide's story remains a powerful reminder that strength is not measured in size. Even the smallest person can inspire millions with determination, resilience, and a heart full of bravery. Tessa Evans is a young girl from Ireland who was born with a super rare condition known as Bosma Arhinia Microphthalmia syndrome, BAM syndrome, meaning she was born without a nose and with severely underdeveloped eyes and other facial differences. From the moment she was born, life was difficult. She was unable to breathe normally. Doctors performed a tracheostomy when she was still a baby to help her breathe. Growing up, despite all the surgeries, medical treatments, and the stares she sometimes drew from people, Tessa never lost her joy or hope. Friends and family say she is the smiliest, happiest child, with a heart full of courage and innocence. At age 2, Tessa underwent a groundbreaking surgery. For the first time in medical history for someone with her condition, doctors used 3D printed implants to create a new nasal structure, not just cosmetic, but designed to give her a more typical facial profile. Today, Tessa likes to live like any other child. She loves animals, music, trampolines, simple joys that remind us she's not defined by her condition. Tessa Evans's story is a powerful proof that even when you are born different, even when the odds are stacked against you, love, resilience, and hope can rewrite your future. Shiloh Pepin, known worldwide as the Mermaid Girl, was born in 1999 in Maine, USA, with an extraordinarily rare condition called cyanomelia, where her legs were fused together like a mermaid's tail. Only a handful of babies with this condition have ever survived birth, and even fewer lived beyond a few days, which made Shiloh's life a true medical miracle. Shiloh was born without a bladder, without a uterus, without most of her lower intestine, and with only one partially working kidney, which failed early in her life. She received her first kidney transplant at just 2 years old, and another at age 8. Despite undergoing more than 150 medical procedures, Shiloh grew up full of joy, energy, and confidence. She loved singing, dancing, and appearing on TV shows to inspire others. She even appeared on The Oprah Winfrey Show, where millions around the world learned her remarkable story. Doctors once believed she would survive only hours after birth, yet Shiloh lived for 10 unforgettable years, proving that courage and spirit can defy even the rarest medical conditions. She became a global symbol of hope, resilience, and positivity. Shiloh Pepin passed away in 2009 due to complications from her condition, but her story continues to touch millions. She showed the world that even when life begins with impossible odds, a brave heart can still shine brighter than anyone expected. Jimena and Scarlett Torres are living miracles. Born as part of an extremely rare triplet pregnancy, the sisters were conjoined at the pelvis and shared vital organs. In 2016, a team of 45 doctors at Driscoll Children's Hospital performed a groundbreaking 12-hour surgery to separate them, a procedure that had never before succeeded in a triplet pregnancy. Today, after years of recovery and rehabilitation, the twins are thriving, full of laughter and energy, inspiring millions around the world with their unbelievable story of survival, hope, and determination. What can you say about this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Christian Buchanan was born on February 18, 2011, with an extraordinarily rare birth defect, a severe form of Tessier cleft lip and palate, which extended from his mouth across his cheekbones and up toward his eyes. In fact, his eyes never developed, and he was confirmed to be blind just days after his birth. During his mother's pregnancy, doctors detected anomalies on ultrasound and warned of serious complications. At one point, they offered termination as an option, which his parents declined. From just a few days old, Christian began a lifelong journey of surgeries, therapies, and adaptations. A feeding tube at days old, graft surgery on his skull, and numerous procedures to repair the facial cleft. Despite these challenges, Christian's story is not defined by limitations, but by remarkable resilience and joy. His mother, Lacey Buchanan, emphasizes that Christian teaches me just to be more joyous and not complain about stuff that just doesn't matter. Today, Christian lives the life of a typical joyful little boy, laughing, teasing, learning, while overcoming the odds stacked against him. His story reminds us that even in the face of extreme physical adversity, the human spirit can shine bright. Meet Gavin Silvestri. Born with a rare and life-changing condition known as lymphatic malformation, a cluster of abnormal lymphatic vessels forming spongy, cyst-like masses that rarely drain properly. From his earliest days in the NICU, he fought for every breath, every meal, every moment. He's nonverbal, uses sign language and a communication device, has a feeding tube and a tracheostomy to support his airway, a direct result of the malformation pressing on his windpipe and neck. Despite all these medical hurdles, Gavin's spirit shines bright. His family describes him as funny, happy, and filled with intelligence beyond what many expect. His story is not just about survival. It's about redefining what different means. Through surgeries, therapies, and countless hospital visits, he is teaching the world a lesson. Your value isn't defined by your physical condition. It's defined by your heart, your resilience, your joy. As you follow Gavin's journey, remember this: challenges may shape a life, but they don't limit a spirit. Gavin's life stands as proof that every child, however unique their path, has a story worth celebrating. Born on April 15, 1992 in Ukraine, Richard Sandrak moved to the U.S. with his family when he was just 2 years old. His father, Pavel Sandrak, was a martial arts world champion. His mother, Lena, competed in aerobics, so fitness was nearly built into his childhood. By age 6, Richard was reportedly bench pressing around $180 or 82 kilos, and by age 8 able to bench roughly 210 over 95 kilo, astonishing numbers for a child. He became internationally known via the documentary The World's Strongest Boy, 2005, which spotlighted his extreme training, and also raised questions about whether a child should be doing adult-level bodybuilding. However, behind the fame was a difficult upbringing. Richard later revealed that much of his childhood was marked by isolation, homeschooled, few friends, and an intense training regime that felt more like duty than play. In 2003, his father was imprisoned for assaulting his mother and later deported to Ukraine. Richard has since said he had no wish to reconnect. As he grew older, Richard distanced himself from competitive bodybuilding, describing his time lifting as almost like PTSD, and switching to more balanced physical activities, work outside the spotlight, and a quieter life in Los Angeles. Today, Richard's story stands as a cautionary tale. Extreme childhood achievement can have a high cost. He remains proud of what he achieved, but also aware of the personal toll it took, and now focuses on redefining his identity beyond the strongest boy in the world. Lalit Patidar is an 18-year-old teenager from Madhya Pradesh, India, who has made headlines by breaking a world record for the hairiest face on a male. He has a rare medical condition called hypertrichosis, often dubbed werewolf syndrome, which causes excessive hair growth all over the body, and in his case, over 95% of his face is covered in hair, with a measured density of 201.72 hairs per square centimeter. Since this condition is extremely rare, only around 50 documented cases globally since the Middle Ages, his case is often described as 1 in a billion. As a child, Lalit says his appearance caused some social difficulties. Classmates were initially scared of him, but as they got to know him, they accepted him and realized he was just like them, only the outside looked different. Rather than hide or change his appearance, he embraces his uniqueness. When asked if he would remove his facial hair, his reply was, "I like how I am. I don't want to change my look." He also uses social media and runs a YouTube channel, offering viewers a glimpse into his life and how he handles everyday experiences while living with such a rare condition. His story is a powerful example of resilience, self-acceptance, and the idea that appearance doesn't define your character or inner worth. Vincent Okech was a young boy from Uganda whose heartbreaking story shocked many people around the world. From an early age, he developed a rare and severe condition that caused his legs to swell dramatically, making it difficult for him to walk or live a normal childhood. Doctors later described his case as elephantiasis of the lower limbs, linked to a blocked lymphatic system. As his condition worsened, specialists planned treatment and even hoped to operate on him. Reports said a medical team was preparing to help Vincent, but his health took a tragic turn before that could happen. In the end, Vincent died from heart failure and blockages, just before the planned operation. His story remains a painful reminder of how rare diseases can change a child's life completely, especially when treatment comes too late.
Ingraphia is a young woman from Grand Rapids, Michigan, who suffers from the rare and painful condition known as erythromelalgia, sometimes called man-on-fire syndrome, along with Raynaud's disease. Her condition causes her to feel like she's constantly burning alive, as though she's enduring second-degree burns all over her skin. Even very mild changes in temperature, whether heat or cold, can trigger excruciating pain. Samara developed these symptoms around age 9, but it took many years and countless doctor visits before she was correctly diagnosed. Because of her severe pain responses, she must keep her living environment carefully controlled. Her room temperature stays around 17 degrees Celsius, about 62 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and everyday tasks like cooking or being in direct sunlight become dangerous. Her condition has imposed heavy limitations. Samara has been largely housebound, has required homeschooling, and often must avoid ordinary things others take for granted. Her father also suffers from the same two conditions, and the family has tried many treatments, but, as of the sources, nothing has fully alleviated the symptoms. Despite this suffering, Samara's story has drawn attention to how painful and isolating life can be for people with rare pain disorders, and highlights the importance of research, awareness, and support. Amanda Grice, a young woman from Florida, lives with one of the world's rarest and most misunderstood conditions: persistent genital arousal disorder, or PGAD. Unlike normal desire, PGAD causes constant and uncontrollable arousal, leading Amanda to experience up to 100 orgasms every single day. What many might assume is a blessing quickly turned into a nightmare. The sensations were painful, exhausting, and robbed her of sleep, relationships, and even the simple ability to enjoy life. She once described it as living in a body that's stuck on overdrive, where something meant to bring joy becomes a source of relentless suffering. Determined to find relief, Amanda sought help from medical specialists, eventually working with Dr. Robert Eckenberg. Through a combination of medication and physical therapy, she managed to reduce the severity of her symptoms and reclaim some control over her life. Amanda's bravery in speaking out, featured on shows like Body Bazaar, has raised awareness of PGAD, challenging the stigma around invisible conditions and proving that even the most unimaginable struggles can be faced with courage.
Dwangjae Samaksamam from Thailand became known worldwide for living with one of the most extreme and rare cases of macrodystrophia lipomatosa, a condition that causes massive overgrowth of fat, tissue, and skin. Since birth, both of her arms, and especially her hands, began to swell uncontrollably, eventually growing so large and heavy that even simple tasks like lifting objects, combing her hair, or dressing herself became difficult. Her arms together can weigh up to 20 kilograms, making this one of the most severe documented cases of limb overgrowth in medical history. For most of her life, Dwangjae lived in isolation. The size of her arms made people stare, and she often felt embarrassed and avoided public spaces. Doctors attempted treatments, but the condition was so advanced and intertwined with nerves and blood vessels that surgery became extremely risky. Specialists warned that operating could cause permanent damage, or even lead to losing the use of her hands altogether. Despite these challenges, Dwangjae's story gained global attention after a documentary featured her daily struggles and her incredible determination to live normally. Viewers were shocked to see how she carried the weight of her arms, ran a small family business, and continued caring for herself despite the pain. Her bravery inspired millions, and medical experts around the world recognized her case as one of the rarest forms of congenital localized gigantism ever recorded. Today, Dwangjae Samaksamam remains a symbol of strength. Her story reminds us that some of the most unbelievable people on earth are not defined by their condition, but by their courage to keep going. Jonathan Peter was a Canadian boy from Ontario who became known around the world as the butterfly child. He was diagnosed as a newborn with epidermolysis bullosa, or EB, a rare and debilitating skin disorder that makes the skin extremely fragile and blister easily. Even the lightest touch could cause painful wounds. But Jonathan did not let his condition define only his suffering. With the support of his mother, Tina Boileau, he helped raise awareness and funds for EB research, and his story inspired many people who saw his courage up close. He also became an ambassador for Deborah Canada, helping bring attention to a disease that many people had never even heard of. In 2018, Jonathan died at the age of 17 while receiving experimental stem cell treatment in Minnesota. Even after his passing, his legacy continued to grow. In 2020, Canada honored him posthumously with the Meritorious Service Cross for helping shine a light on EB and inspiring others through his bravery. Jonathan Peters' story is a reminder that strength is not always about being unbreakable. Sometimes it is about facing pain with courage and using your life to help others. Born and raised in a small village near Raipur in central India, Shivanath and Shivram Sahu were conjoined twins who captured hearts around the world with their courage and cooperation. From birth, the brothers shared a single body from the waist down, 2 legs and 4 arms, but each had their own heart, lungs, and brain. This rare form of conjoinment made everyday activities a challenge most of us could hardly imagine. Instead of letting their condition limit them, the twins developed remarkable teamwork. As children, they learned to walk up steps, dress themselves, and even go to school by moving together in a spider-like way on 4 arms when needed. Their ingenuity didn't stop there. A specially adapted bicycle allowed one brother to pedal while the other steered, showing that determination and cooperation can overcome physical limitations. Despite medical opinions that a complex separation surgery was technically possible, Shivanath and Shivram both refused. They saw their connection not as a burden, but a unique part of who they were, often calling their condition a gift from God and expressing their wish to stay together for life. Their story went viral in 2014 when footage of them confidently washing, dressing, and navigating their world spread across international media. Not as a curiosity, but as a testament to human resilience and unity. Even as adults, they continued to live by their own terms, happy with their choice to remain together and inspiring people everywhere with their courage, humor, and unbreakable bond. Devin Merck from Georgia, USA, was born with an extremely rare condition called Mayer-Rokitansky-Kuster-Hauser syndrome, or MRKH, meaning she was born without a vaginal canal, cervix, and with an underdeveloped uterus. She discovered this life-changing truth at just 12 years old, when doctors revealed she would never be able to have children naturally. As a teenager, Devin struggled with shame and bullying, constantly feeling like she wasn't normal. But instead of hiding, she chose to fight. She underwent reconstructive surgery to create a vaginal canal using skin grafts from her own body, a long and painful process that required immense courage and recovery. Later, doctors discovered that despite her condition, Devin still had working ovaries, giving her hope that one day she could still have a biological child through IVF and surrogacy. Today, Devin is happily married and uses her platform to raise awareness for women with rare reproductive disorders, showing the world that being different doesn't mean being less. Her journey is proof that beauty and strength aren't defined by perfection, but by perseverance, courage, and self-love. Farah Khalek is a Kenyan content creator, motivational figure, and founder of the Farah Foundation, known not just for her digital work, but for her inspiring journey living with scleroderma, a rare autoimmune disease that causes the skin and connective tissues to harden and tighten. Scleroderma is a chronic condition with no known cure. It affects each person differently, often impacting the skin, internal organs, and blood vessels. In Farah's case, the disease brought significant physical challenges, altering her appearance and daily life. Yet instead of retreating from the world, she chose to share her story publicly, becoming a voice of resilience and hope for others facing rare conditions. Through social media and video interviews, Farah spoke openly about the emotional toll of living with scleroderma, including moments of self-doubt when she feared looking in the mirror, and how she learned to embrace positivity despite adversity. Her message resonated with many, especially during Scleroderma Awareness Month, when she encouraged others not to let illness define them. As the founder of the Farah Foundation, she worked to empower people living with autoimmune and chronic conditions, using her platform to educate, uplift, and build community. Through her candid storytelling and advocacy, Farah turned her personal struggles into a mission of service and inspiration. Her journey reminds us that even when life presents us with rare and difficult challenges, the human spirit can find strength, purpose, and connection in the most unexpected ways, proving that courage isn't the absence of hardship, but the choice to keep going anyway. Chen Tuanji from China was born with one of the rarest congenital leg deformities ever documented. Instead of bending normally, both of her legs curved sharply in the wrong direction, leaving her unable to stand or walk for the first 26 years of her life. Doctors later identified her condition as severe congenital genu recurvatum, a rare malformation where the knee joints bend abnormally due to improper bone and ligament development inside the womb. This condition is so uncommon that many orthopedic specialists never encounter a case like hers in their entire careers. Growing up, Tuanji moved by supporting herself with her arms, crawling on the ground just to get around her home. She learned to adapt by using extraordinary upper body strength, helping with chores, and refusing to let her disability stop her from contributing to her family. Still, the emotional and physical challenges were immense. Many doctors in China believed that her condition was too severe to be corrected. Everything changed when Taiwan's Tsuchi Hospital learned about her situation. A team of orthopedic surgeons from Taiwan invited her for evaluation and committed to attempting a reconstruction that most medical centers would consider impossible. Over several months, Tuanji underwent multiple complex surgeries to realign her bones, rebuild her knees, and gradually straighten her legs. The procedures required advanced orthopedic techniques and intensive rehabilitation. Against overwhelming odds, Tuanji slowly learned to stand and walk for the very first time in her life. Her transformation moved millions across Asia, showing the power of medical innovation and human determination. Her story remains one of the most inspiring examples of overcoming a congenital deformity once thought to be untreatable. Claire and Lola Hartley from Kansas captured international attention because they were born with severe microcephaly, one of the rarest neurological conditions in the world. Microcephaly occurs when a baby's brain does not develop properly during pregnancy, resulting in a head size far smaller than normal and leading to lifelong developmental challenges. For Claire and Lola, the condition was so profound that doctors initially believed they would not survive infancy. Their parents, however, refused to give up hope. Growing up, the sisters faced a range of medical complications: limited motor function, difficulty swallowing, seizures, and extremely slow physical development. Their mother, Gwen Hartley, described that even simple tasks like holding up their heads or eating independently were nearly impossible. Despite these obstacles, Claire and Lola showed remarkable emotional awareness and deep family connection, responding to music, touch, and the presence of the people they loved most. The Hartley family became widely known after sharing their journey publicly to raise awareness about children living with rare neurological conditions. Their story gained global attention when microcephaly was linked to the Zika virus outbreak, prompting renewed interest in families affected by the disorder. Through their blog and media coverage, including a feature by The Guardian, the Hartleys showed the world that life with microcephaly is not defined only by medical limitations, but also by joy, resilience, and unconditional love. Although both girls eventually passed away, Claire in 2018 and Lola in 2022, their legacy continues to inspire families and caregivers facing similar challenges. Their lives prove that even the rarest and most severe medical conditions cannot diminish the impact of compassion and hope. Meet Mandy Sellers, born 20th of February 1975 in Lancashire, England. She lives with a rare genetic mutation that causes local gigantism in both of her legs, meaning her lower body grows massively, out of proportion from the rest of her frame. From early childhood, Mandy's legs and feet were abnormally large. As she grew up, the condition worsened. At one point, her legs weighed up to 17 stone, 238 lbs or about 108 kilos, while her upper body remained slender. In 2006, some doctors thought she had Proteus syndrome, a very rare disorder of overgrowth, famously linked to the Elephant Man. But more recent genetic testing identified a mutation in the PIK3CA gene as the underlying cause for Mandy's condition. In 2010, things came to a crisis. One of her legs became infected and developed septicemia, forcing doctors to amputate her left leg above the knee for her safety. However, even after amputation, the stump started growing again with alarming speed. Within about 22 months it ballooned, growing in circumference to about a meter around in parts. It became too heavy for her prosthetic leg to handle. Doctors found some hope when they prescribed a trial drug targeting the mutated gene. Over time, this treatment helped reduce the weight of her legs by several stone, 6-stone drop, and eased her mobility somewhat, even if she remains largely housebound. Despite the many physical challenges, infections, mobility issues, needing special clothes and vehicles, long periods in hospital, Mandy is vocal about being proud of who she is. She has been part of TV documentaries and has used her story to raise awareness about rare growth disorders. Her story is one of resilience, embracing a body that many would see as a burden, but finding strength, identity, and even hope through her journey. Bojana Danilovic is a Serbian woman whose story became famous because of a rare neurological condition that makes her see the world upside down. Reports described her as a council worker in Serbia who had to use an upside-down computer screen, read papers from the bottom up, and even watch television on a separate screen that was turned over to match the way her brain processes images. According to several reports, doctors and researchers described her condition as a rare form of spatial orientation phenomenon. In simple terms, her eyes are said to capture images normally, but her brain does not process them in the usual way, so everything appears inverted to her. Reports also said that experts from Harvard and MIT were consulted because her case was so unusual. What makes Bojana's story so fascinating is that she said this was normal for her. In interviews reported by multiple outlets, she explained that she had lived this way since birth and had grown used to handling daily life in reverse, from reading and writing to using a computer and watching TV. Her case reminds us that the human brain is still full of mysteries. For most people, the world is seen one way, but for Bojana Danilovic, reality itself has always looked upside down. Carmen and Lupita Andrade are among the most famous conjoined twins in the world. Born in 2000 in Veracruz, Mexico, they moved to the United States as infants and grew up in Connecticut. The sisters are joined from the torso to the pelvis. While they share a liver, reproductive system, and digestive system, they are distinct individuals with their own hearts, lungs, and stomachs. Physical coordination is a lifetime's work. Carmen controls the right leg and Lupita the left. They didn't even take their first steps until they were 4 years old. Doctors once evaluated the possibility of separation, but the procedure was deemed too dangerous because of the vital organs they share. The sisters famously never wanted the surgery anyway, once asking their mother, "Why would you want to cut us in half?" Today, they are social media stars, sharing their lives with hundreds of thousands of followers to debunk myths about disability. In a beautiful milestone, Carmen married her longtime boyfriend, Daniel, in October 2024. While Lupita identifies as asexual and aromantic, she is incredibly supportive of her sister's marriage, often joking that she's just along for the ride. Their story is a powerful reminder that normal is what you make of it. Carmen and Lupita aren't just a medical marvel. They are two independent women proving that love, identity, and happiness come in many forms. Laurie and George Chappelle were among the rarest types of conjoined twins in the world. They were born in 1961 in Pennsylvania in the United States and were joined at the head, a condition known as craniopagus twins. Although they shared part of the skull and about 30% of their brain tissue, Laurie and George developed very different personalities and lives. Laurie worked in the hospital industry for many years, while George pursued his passion for music and even performed as a country singer. What made their story especially unique was their independence. Despite being physically connected, they lived in their own apartment and managed daily tasks with careful coordination and cooperation. George also made history as one of the first openly transgender people known to be part of a conjoined twin pair. Laurie supported George throughout his transition, showing the deep bond and respect between them. For decades, Laurie and George Chappelle demonstrated that even in the rarest circumstances, individuals can pursue their own identities and dreams. Their remarkable lives challenged assumptions about disability, independence, and what it truly means to live side by side. Meet Owen Hawkins and Giovanni Hamilton, two boys from opposite sides of the world who share an incredibly rare condition known as Schwartz-Jampel syndrome. This genetic disorder causes constant muscle stiffness, joint problems, and distinctive facial features that can make everyday movement difficult. Owen lives in the United Kingdom, while Giovanni is from the United States. Growing up, both boys often felt isolated. Many people didn't understand their condition, and they sometimes faced staring, questions, and even bullying because of how they looked and moved. Their lives changed when they were brought together for the first time on the TLC documentary series 2 in a Million. In the episode titled Boys of Steel, viewers followed their emotional journey as the two boys finally met someone who truly understood what they were going through. Despite the daily challenges caused by muscle tightness and painful joints, both Owen and Giovanni are known for their humor, strength, and positive outlook. When they met, the moment was filled with excitement and emotion. They shared their experiences, laughed together, and even visited doctors side by side. For the first time, they realized they were not alone in their journey. Schwartz-Jampel syndrome may affect their bodies, but it has never defined who they are. Owen and Giovanni showed the world something powerful, that being rare does not mean being weak. In fact, it often means having extraordinary courage. And together, their friendship became a reminder that sometimes the greatest medicine is simply knowing someone else understands your story. Cynthia Murphy was born with Treacher-Collins syndrome, a rare craniofacial condition that affects the development of the eyes, ears, cheekbones, and jaw. The disorder occurs in roughly 1 out of every 50,000 births, making it extremely uncommon. Growing up in Green Valley Lake, California, Cynthia faced more than just medical challenges. Because of her facial differences, she endured years of bullying and cruel remarks from classmates. She was often mocked, called hurtful names, and at times even physically attacked after school. Those experiences deeply affected her confidence and left her feeling isolated during much of her childhood. Medical treatment became another major part of her life. Over the years, Cynthia underwent more than 16 reconstructive surgeries. One of the most significant procedures involved rebuilding her jaw to protect her airway and improve essential functions like breathing and chewing. Each surgery meant new pain, long recoveries, and growing medical expenses. But eventually, Cynthia transformed her struggles into a mission. She began sharing her story online and later co-founded a wellness nonprofit called Assuaged with her husband, Thine. Through advocacy work, she helps raise awareness about craniofacial conditions, donates hearing devices, and mentors young people who feel different because of their appearance. Today, Cynthia's message is simple but powerful. Visible differences can become visible strength. From hospital rooms to public speaking platforms, she has turned a life filled with challenges into one filled with purpose, proving that true beauty is not about perfect symmetry, but about resilience, compassion, and the courage to embrace who you are. Evan Fasciano, born in 2011 in Connecticut, United States, is known for his brave battle with an extremely rare genetic skin condition called harlequin ichthyosis. This severe disorder causes the skin to grow much faster than normal, sometimes up to 10 times the typical rate, resulting in thick, hardened scales that cover much of the body. When Evan was born, his skin appeared unusually tight and thick, almost as if it were covered in a rigid layer. Harlequin ichthyosis is characterized by large diamond-shaped plates of skin separated by deep cracks. These features can affect the face, eyelids, and joints, often creating serious physical challenges from the very beginning of life. Because of the condition, simple bodily functions can become difficult. Evan can struggle with blinking, his chest movement can be restricted, and his body cannot sweat normally. This makes regulating body temperature extremely difficult and increases the risk of dehydration and heat-related illness. Caring for Evan requires constant attention and dedication. Every day, his parents spend several hours carefully bathing him, gently removing layers of hardened skin, and applying special moisturizers to keep his skin soft and protected. This daily routine is essential to prevent painful cracking and reduce the risk of infection. Despite the demanding care and medical challenges, Evan is described as a joyful and energetic child. His story has inspired many people around the world, bringing attention to rare genetic conditions and highlighting the strength and resilience of children and families who face extraordinary medical journeys. The Johnston family may look like an ordinary family living in rural Georgia, but TLC describes them as the largest known family of little people in the world. Their story has been shared through the series 7 Little Johnstons, which follows Trent and Amber Johnston as they raise their 5 children and navigate everyday life, family challenges, and the pressure of living in the public eye. What makes their story especially remarkable is that it highlights achondroplasia, the most common form of short-limbed dwarfism. According to Medline Plus Genetics, achondroplasia is a genetic condition that affects bone growth, especially in the arms and legs. It is one of the most recognized causes of dwarfism worldwide. But the Johnston family story is not just about a medical condition. It is also about resilience, unity, and the way a family can grow stronger through differences. Over the years, they have shown viewers that daily life is still filled with the same things many families face: parenting, school, work, disagreements, and big life decisions. Yet through it all, they continue to push forward together. That is why so many people connect with the Johnstons. Their story reminds us that being different does not make a family lesser. It can make their journey even more inspiring. In a rural part of southern Turkey, the Ulaş family became known around the world for a condition that few people had ever seen before. Out of their 19 children, 5 siblings developed a unique way of moving, walking on all fours, using their hands and feet in what is often described as a bear crawl. This rare form of quadrupedal movement immediately drew the attention of scientists and researchers. At first, their condition led to widespread speculation. Some early interpretations suggested it could be linked to human evolution, but further studies revealed a different explanation. Researchers found that the affected siblings were born with a congenital neurological condition associated with cerebellar ataxia and cerebellar hypoplasia, meaning parts of the brain responsible for balance and coordination were underdeveloped. Because of this, walking upright became extremely difficult, leading them to adapt in a way that allowed them to move more efficiently. The story of the Ulaş family is not about mystery or misconception. It is about how the human body can adapt to challenges in unexpected ways. Their lives have helped scientists better understand the connection between genetics, brain development, and movement. But beyond the science, their story is a powerful reminder that every family, no matter how different, deserves to be understood with respect and empathy. Because in the end, the Ulaş family is not defined by how they walk, but by how they live. In Brazil, one family chose a life that most people would consider impossible. The Borges family became known around the world for sharing their home, not with dogs or cats, but with tigers. Led by Ari Borges, the family first rescued 2 tigers from a circus. What started as an act of compassion soon turned into something far more unusual. Over time, they began raising multiple tigers, creating a household unlike any other. Inside their home, these massive predators roam freely. The family interacts with them closely, feeding them, playing with them, and even allowing their children to grow up alongside these powerful animals. To some, their lifestyle is fascinating. To others, it raises serious concerns. Tigers are wild animals, known for their strength and unpredictable nature. Experts often warn that no matter how they are raised, they are not domesticated. Yet the Borges family continues to live this extraordinary life, forming a bond that challenges the line between human and wild. Their story is not just about unusual choices, it's about risk, trust, and a way of life that few would ever dare to experience.
Gabby Scholl's love for dance began when she was just 3 years old in Missouri. By the age of 9, her world changed forever. She was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, a rare and aggressive bone cancer that had developed in her knee. Doctors told her that if she wanted to survive, she would need to undergo a life-altering procedure known as rotationplasty. In this groundbreaking surgery, her diseased knee joint was removed. Her lower leg was rotated 180 degrees and then reattached. Her ankle now functions as her knee, allowing her to wear a prosthetic leg and walk, run, and even dance again. While the surgery was shocking to many, for Gabby it became a second chance at life. Rather than letting cancer define her, she returned to competitive dance, performing ballet, jazz, hip-hop, tap, and contemporary with grace and power. Beyond the stage, she became a spokesperson for childhood cancer awareness, inspiring countless families facing similar battles. Gabby's story proves that strength, courage, and determination can turn the impossible into something beautiful.
And that concludes our journey through the top 100 rare people you won't believe actually exist. Each person featured in this documentary reminds us just how extraordinary human diversity can be. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating stories from around the world.